2, 1, something or other. Wait for it. Hey, the button's red now. Wait, hold on.
Yay!
Hang on.
Good.
Oh, there. Wait.
We don't seem to have anyone in the chat.
It says we got 6. 6 now.
Oh, they're not showing up on mine.
Hello, everyone. Cool. Look, we got a full house again. This has been a long time since we've had 6 on the show. Do.
Nothing can possibly go wrong, right?
Hey, now that is exactly.
You're not allowed
Nothing
to
ever
say
goes
that.
wrong.
Josh, don't jinx it. Don't jinx it, man.
A new point release. Uh-oh. Firefox snaps back. Gnome and Plasma get updates.
Oh, it's nap time.
And much more. Insecurity. Ooh. No chats are safe.
Londoners there.
Londoner, hey.
Yeah, everything's okay. Londoners there.
Then in our wandering.
The only listener we need.
You're from.
Just one quick note on the GNOME 41 RC1 news. Are these listed only the ones specific to RC1? Because where the list of changes in GNOME 41 altogether, like the new multitasking settings or something. Should I also mention those?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. This stuff is just me because I'll get lost. If you want to add to it, or whether that's type it in or just talk about it as I'm going through the points or whatever, please do. Or just take the whole article, really. I'm happy to throw it at you if you know more
But when
about it than
I start doing that, it means we've got to wrap that particular section up.
Yeah, keep your eyes on Tony.
I think this is.
He will tell you
You
to
changed the
shut
article.
up.
It was a different article before.
Because we're going too long.
Yeah, it was. I think I linked to a more official article. Oh, no. What did I do? Oh, no, Debug Point just had a really good write-up on it. That's what I did. If I steal stuff from their article, I'll use them in the show notes. All right.
In other words, brevity is the soul of wit.
What?
So brevity is the soul of wit.
Yeah.
5, 6, 7. We've got nine things in the news, so officially we've got a couple of minutes each for them, but there'll be a couple of them that don't take much time. The last one, the Ubuntu podcast ending, that'll just be a notification.
30 seconds.
Yeah, hopefully.
Listen to mintCast instead.
Well, they're already listening to mintCast, else they can't hear the notification.
That's true. It's true. All right. I think I'm. Oh no, I need a little bit for me up here. What am I doing? And slowly fading away.
And then you're probably going to say, "Oh, I haven't started Audacity yet."
Oh, I haven't started Audacity yet. I'm ready when y'all are.
Right. Should we go for it?
1 minute, please.
Oh, wait. 15 seconds.
He's more nervous than I am right now, I think. With the
Should we
bunch
start
of us.
the
You guys.
recording in Audacity?
Yeah. So
Just wait till it's my turn to run the show.
So
Okay.
bring Audacity up, and then I'll say 3, 2, 1, record, and then we do the 20-25 seconds of silence. Okay?
Right. Hold on one. Okay, cool. I'm good. Can y'all say something for me real quick? Anything?
Yeah,
Something
go
for
on.
you real quick.
Something real quick.
Hey.
Real quick.
That was a tongue twister.
I'm going to pump y'all up to decibels, and I think we're good. And then in Audacity, I'm going to yell a little bit. Okay, cool. Sorry, didn't mean to yell in your faces. But I need to test and see if I was going to clip
Who
or
needs
not.
coffee?
Yeah, I've had a lot of coffee today. Too much, probably.
You've not got calf pal there, have you?
Okay, 1 second. Am I breathing too much?
I cannot hear you.
Well, it's kind of a requirement, so I would suggest you keep doing it.
Here's a trick. If you can breathe out of the opposite side of your mouth, it helps a ton. I couldn't hear it, though, but it might show up in Audacity.
Right. Everyone's mic open at this stage when we're doing the 3, 2, 1 record and the silence.
Don't mute it when we're trying to get the background noise.
Yeah.
Turns out.
Okay.
Okay. Are we all ready?
Ready?
Yes, sir.
3, 2, 1, record. I do miss Mossy's trucks.
I know. 25.
Yeah, he was talking in Telegram about eventually coming back. So
Good.
Yeah. Okay. This is something that's new to me. Tony, I'm pretty sure he got on our case about saying that it was a long hiatus.
Oh, right.
And now he's saying, well, it was always 6 months, and then it might be a little longer than
No,
that.
he did say he wasn't sure.
it was an indeterminate amount of time, is what I remember.
Well,
him
and I
saying.
mean, I thought we covered it in the announcements where Tony corrected me, I think, something like that, and it said it was just an extended
Okay,
hiatus. and
just
then-
give me 1 minute. I would have to go off and switch off the fan and switch on the AC.
But yeah, so he came. He was like, "No, it's permanent or something like that." I can't remember the conversation, but we got corrected, and then I think
and now he's saying it's a hiatus, is it?
Huh. So here on the live show, you get the behind the scenes of Moss might be coming back, maybe toward the end or beginning of the new year, end of this year, beginning of new year. He said 4 more months or something like that. So I don't know. So if you miss
Okay,
Moss's,
just to be,
ahead.
I'm sorry, just
No,
to be
go ahead.
clear, we do that initial, and then we stop the recording, and then we start it again.
No,
correct?
no,
we do not stop the
everything-
recording.
Everything stays the
Josh
same.
broke
Oh
it.
now.
no,
he broke
I
it.
broke it.
That's okay. You
I
want
broke
to
it.
do it one more time, everybody?
Hold on, I gotta get rid of the
Alright,
recording.
we're starting
now.
again.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. We
Don't
forgive
be.
you.
I think we.
We
I
do
think
this. We do
everybody
this all the
gets-
time, Josh.
Yeah.
We do this all the time.
Everybody
My
gets
fault.
like 6 gimmies per 100 episodes. You're good.
Okay,
Okay,
my
so
mistake.
we're
it.
I
I
will
think
leave
I'm
it
over
going.
budget.
All right. So here's what you do.
so,
So everybody look at
recording.
Audacity real quick. Hit the stop.
Okay,
button.
1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute.
you can delete that first one and start again.
Okay.
So the way you do that is stop, hit the little. So look at your track where all the audio is, and there's a X in the top left of the track itself. You can just close that, and that gets rid of all of it.
And then we'll start again.
Yeah, hang on 1 sec.
As
this-
if nothing had happened.
What happened?
I
Nothing.
knew I'd.
Nothing happened. Nothing happened.
Okay, 1 minute.
But once we've started the recording, we
It just
carry
stays.
on, and then we just do the 3, 2, 1, 0 to give Owen the lineup.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
but once
gotcha.
once I
Sorry.
say record, don't touch it.
Yeah.
Stop,
Okay.
pause, none of
That's
that. Just leave it going for the whole time.
Okay, 1 minute.
Got
1
it.
minute. Let me reboot Audacity.
Oh dear. You didn't close it. Oh.
Oh, I've made a mess.
Okay, good to go.
Okay.
Sometimes I forget I've been doing this for
Good to go.
77 episodes, so it seems easy to me, but
Right.
I'm always reminded there's a little bit more than I remember.
Yeah. Yeah, no, don't. Like I say, we'll get there. It might be midnight my time when we finish, and 4 o'clock in the morning, Nissan's time. But you know,
We'll
so
get
what?
there. We'll get there.
5.5, Tony.
Yeah, 5.5. So it'd be 5:30 in the morning when.
All right. Are we good?
Okay.
For a countdown? Another
Good.
We're
countdown?
good to go again.
Good.
All right.
Okay.
Everybody's Audacity is clear and empty right now, right?
Clear and
Correct.
empty.
Cool.
Yes.
All right.
I'm supposed to have Audacity open.
Oh, shut up, Joe.
That's it,
Right.
that man.
Are we ready?
Ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1, record. And I
Yo.
still miss Mossy's trucks.
I know, still gone.
Right, are we ready to do 3, 2, 1, 0?
Yeah, we got a full house in there. Look at this. Wow.
Have we? Have we?
Yeah.
Ooh, look at all them people.
I haven't seen Tony Serna in a while. Welcome back.
Yeah, party set.
Let me see.
Hello.
94F here.
What is the purpose of the?
Hey, we've got someone who's a
24
Mate.
seconds?
We've got a Mate desktop in there.
What was that,
Hi.
Norbert?
I have a matte desktop.
What is the
Tony.
point of the 20 seconds of silence?
So we can use that bit where you're not talking to remove any kind of background noise out of the parts
Oh.
where you are talking.
Okay.
It is extremely useful.
Podcasting.
And more the better. 5 seconds, I'd say at a minimum, but more the better. All right, let me pop this out, and then I'm ready to go.
I-94F.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 94 degrees out here, man. Joe's probably in the same boat.
Yeah.
It is 99% of humidity and 30 degrees out here.
Oh, good.
Celsius.
Okay. Let's do the 3, 2, 1, 0, and then we can get on with the
you're
show.
right.
It's actually cooler today than it's been in a while. It's only 90 degrees.
Joe,
Okay. Let's do it.
quiet, quiet.
Oh, shush.
3, 2, 1, 0.
Zero.
I was too early with the 0.
One more?
And I think
we do
Nishant
it
had his
again?
mic muted.
Don't forget to say it, Nissan, when we
Okay,
get to
can you
the
hear
bit.
me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you. 3, 2, 1, 0.
Zero.
I think that
Yeah.
worked.
You're
got-
still muted.
I think I heard everybody.
Yeah, I did.
I saw everybody's
thought
box
everyone
go
came in.
green, so I think we're okay.
Say something, Nishan.
Nissan,
Yes.
can you hear?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah.
All of you.
Oh, I was looking at the stream, which is 10 seconds late. I was looking, and I was looking at everyone's face on the stream as I saw his mouth moving and not saying anything. Oh,
Yeah,
should
that'll
probably-
do it.
I should
That'll
probably
do it.
close this.
Maybe the network delay. Okay, let's get on with it.
Are we
Alright.
all right with the 3, 2, 1, 0? You don't want to do it again, Leah?
That second one sounded good, I think.
Yeah,
But we're
we're
all over the world, so there's gonna be some lag. I mean, quite
Yeah.
literally all over the world now. This is
Yeah,
fantastic. This is the
I
coolest thing.
felt I was a little bit ahead of everyone else, but
Yeah.
that's regular for me anyway. And-
Right.
I was on
And-
time with you, but then I did hear a bunch of latency from everybody else.
Yeah.
Or it sounded like I was on time
Well,
with
we've
you.
for a change, we've got California, we've got Texas, we've got India, we've got Hungary, and we got the UK. So
Yeah.
we're well covered.
Quite literally all the way around the world. That's fantastic.
And also spreading among people in India. My friends are watching it maybe
Woohoo!
today.
Oh, good.
Well, welcome,
Okay.
friends.
Maybe I'll see some
So,
people from.
Shall we
Hungary
hand over
watching.
to Leo to do the get us kicked off?
Yes. You know what? I totally forgot. Come on.
People of Hungary in the chat. How many of you are here?
I must be.
It's weird. I only see one watching now.
For me, it
Yeah,
says one,
it's
too.
weird, but we've got a lot of people in the chat, so that I don't think the
Yeah.
numbers match up right now. Well,
Yeah.
hey, fun times, guys. No music today. Because I'm awesome.
Why?
That's why. Oh, wait.
No music.
No, I'm an idiot. I don't have to do it that way anymore. That's why. Okay. Hang on. I got this. I got this. We're ready to
You
go.
forgot your new setup.
Yeah, I did, actually. I thought it was still the old setup. It's the new setup now. Yay. So, music time. Are y'all ready?
Yep.
All right.
Yes, I want that music.
All right. Here goes the
Okay.
show. Welcome to mintCast, the podcast by the Linux Mint community for all users of Linux.
From Back Pain Central, it's Joe.
Ooch, Joe. Hi, this is Tony, and I'm a world record holder. Yay!
I'm Norbert, but not the beaver.
From the land of the CEOs, I'm Nishant.
And I'm yet another Josh.
Only the third or fourth one, right? And slowly
Right.
fading
Refer to
away,
you as-
I'm Leo.
Or the third.
This is episode 370. This is episode 370.5. Recorded on Sunday, September 19th. Livestream information is at mintcast.org/livestream. If you see something you'd like to hear about, tell us. Send us email at mintcast@mintcast.org. Join us live on YouTube. Post at the mintcast subreddit. Chat with us on Telegram, Discord, Facebook, or post directly at mintcast.org. First up in the news, Linux Mint gets a new website, a new point release, Firefox snaps back, Gnome and Plasma get updates, and much more. In security, no encrypted chats are safe. Then in our wanderings, we hear from the old and new crew. In our intersection, an introduction to the new folks that will carry on the show with Tony and Joe. And finally, the feedback and a couple of suggestions.
It's more like the new folks.
Yeah. The new mintCast.
The more youthful mintcast, if you will.
That's it.
Ooh, that's true.
So along with
New
the
York.
along with the new and younger mintcast crew, we'll start at the top of the show with Linux Mint's website. Have you guys seen it? Have you gone and taken a look at it? Got an iPhone?
Yay!
Oh,
Yes.
look at this.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Look at
It
this.
does look
Great.
good.
If you're on,
It looks amazing.
yes, if you're on the live stream, you can see this website. If you're not, go head over to linuxmint.com and check it out. If you were one of the very many, I was going to say few, but many people that said that the Linux Mint website needed an overhaul because it looked like it was straight out of 1999, well, your wish is Clem's command. He's done it. Go take a look. I think they have skyrocketed 20 years into the future, which lands them today, which makes the website modern, which is actually kind of nice because it needed it. I was one of the naysayers. It didn't look great. So
The download page even looks nice.
yeah, let me see. You said download page. Let's click on the download page. Look at this. Ready to download. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the Solus download page, where flagship #1, obviously that's what you want, and then descriptions of the other editions, the Mate edition, the XFCE edition. Man, it looks good. You know what's funny though is that those screenshots, they look identical, man. Every single one of them looks the same.
It pains me to say, but the website now might look even more modern than the desktop itself.
Ooh, uh-oh. I like that
Ouch.
though.
I really come to like Linux Mint. My only problem is that I don't really like the default icon set that much.
Okay,
I
I
mean,
agree with
but
you. I go straight to
I think that is
Papyrus.
great.
I go straight to Papyrus. That's the first thing I install. Swap that out, and then I'm good to go. I'll stick with the Mint Y. I think I go dark blue, and that do that all the way down the thing with Papyrus icons, and I'm happy.
I also like how they have little descriptions for each edition because that was the one thing that I think the website was really lacking.
Yes.
So have you guys seen the FAQ section?
Where?
Also very nice. Under About.
Under About, FAQ. Ooh.
Very clean and straightforward.
Yeah, and it's very sleek, and it doesn't have a lot of junk that you don't care about. You just click on the question you care about. It'll fold
Yeah,
open.
click on can I use Linux Mint for commercial purpose?
Oh, yes.
It says yes.
That's fantastic. Just straight to the point. There's no fluff here. Yes. I love that. So that's fantastic. Man, it just looks good. It looks good. All right. Well, go take a look at it if you haven't. There's really not a whole lot of news as far as that goes, other than, I mean, it's live. It's there. Go
It
check
looks
it out.
pretty.
It does. So next up, we have an unscheduled Ubuntu 18.04.6 point release. I don't think we've ever seen a 0.6 release to my knowledge. We may have, but they don't happen often at the very least. So the story behind this is this point release is meant to fix the issue of revoked keys in Ubuntu 18.04.5 and earlier. So if you remember, a while back, we had a show in the security update section about boot hole, which was a flaw that allowed you to essentially take over grub or even just fully replace grub with whatever you wanted to run at boot before the kernel ever takes over, before any of that stuff ever happens. So the downside of this is that you can place in your own keys to make it boot anything that you want it to, essentially. So this 0.6 release is meant to patch that particular flaw. And we've got, if you don't remember the boot hole security update, we've got the link to the article that we used for that. And it kind of goes into the whole thing, but that's essentially it, right? They can take over grub. Some malicious actor can take over grub and do that. So, .6, that's what this is about. It doesn't affect the 20. Series, only the 18 series. So if you're still deploying 18.04, you'll need this new ISO because it will have the keys baked in. Everything else is fine. Anybody still deploying 18.04? Y'all still using it? Anybody?
We have a lot
Nope.
bunch of 18.04 computers at my university.
So they won't. Okay, so hey, actually, good thing they won't be affected because they'll just run updates and they'll get the new keys installed and everything else. If they're deploying new ones, though, they'll need the new ISO. So if you hear somebody grumbling in the hallways about this new 18.04 thing, it's not deploying anymore and they don't know why, it won't boot, secure boot, something. Yeah, that's why.
I say I'm not using 18.04, but technically I am because I'm on I'm on Mint 19.3, which is
right.
based on 18.04.
So that might force a Linux Mint ISO refresh as well, because the same keys would be on the Linux Mint ISO. I didn't think about that angle before I came into this. So, pay attention. We might hear something from the Linux Mint folks, and I'll go digging. I might find something. All right, next up is everybody's favorite, more snaps. Firefox is snapped now, and it's by default in Ubuntu 21.10 and beyond. Now, in the flavors, 21.10 will not get the snap. However, the flavors will sport the snap in 22.04. So we've heard this before. Why does this story sound so familiar?
Well, it's Chrome again, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. So as Ubuntu snapped up Chromium, they're doing the same thing now with Mozilla.
But they're probably doing it for exactly the same reason. In the long run, it's going to be easier to support long-term releases that then get extended 5-year support for commercial use.
Right.
It'll make it easier to give secure browser with Firefox.
Exactly. So I guess one of the things that is going to come is the inevitable backlash of people that don't like snaps are going to straight up say, I'm not going to use Ubuntu anymore because of this. But there's a difference here. I don't think the Chromium project themselves asked Ubuntu to snap it up. Ubuntu just snapped it up because it was going to reduce their effort in having to distribute it, right? Well, Mozilla did ask Ubuntu to snap this up and allow them to update via the snap. So the conversation will be colored a little bit differently this time because it's vendor specific. It's coming from the vendor that they want this. So what do y'all think? Does anybody actually use Ubuntu, like Ubuntu proper?
Now on Ubuntu Mate.
So what do you feel about this? So in 22.04, if you continue using Ubuntu Mate, you're going to get the Mozilla Snap instead of the Mozilla Deb. They just will not have it anymore. What do you think about that?
Well, what I do is, for example, Spotify does not have a deb file or a snap file. So I go to the internet, there's a packages website, packages.org, and I just download the deb from there. I don't use snap either way, so it does not matter much.
So it's not an official deb, it's just a deb that I guess a group has put together? You said packages.org?
Yes, it's not a group. It will be like listed according to the Ubuntu version, 21.10, 20.10, like that.
If you
Let me
can,
just share the link. Give me
yeah,
1
please
minute.
do.
But Debian themselves have a Firefox release, don't they? So because they use an extended support one.
Right. So if you
Nishant,
want the
can you put that
ESR
in the
version,
So
check this out section?
what's that?
I was asking Nishant to put that link in the check this out
Oh yeah, please
section.
do. Yeah, Firefox does ESR though, and I don't know. I don't know. Does anybody seek out the ESR? I know I certainly don't.
Well, there must be some way of getting the deb. If it's in Debian, there must be some way of getting the deb for the ESR.
Well, so Firefox does distribute it just like Thunderbird does, where they'll give you a tar.gz with the Firefox binary in it. You just go, drop it in opt or something like that, and it'll work just fine. But you've got to manually handle it. Whereas, well, actually, no, I take that back. I think Firefox does have update bits within opt, so long as the user running it has the permissions to change that in opt. So you can work around it, especially if you just want to be on Ubuntu but you don't want the snap. There's no choice going beyond 21.10. So you can work around it. There's also a Flatpak version of Firefox. If it's not the packaging, it's the snap that discourages you from using it. Flatpak does have one as well. So you've got options at least.
Cool.
So I guess the elephant in the room, right, is what is Linux Mint going to do about this? Ha! Nothing. They've always compiled their own Firefox. So you, as a Linux Mint user, do absolutely nothing, and absolutely nothing will change. So you're good. So next up, GNOME 41 RC1 out. And Norbert, you've been keeping an eye on this, so tell me a little bit about this. What am I to expect in 41?
Stage fright.
Hey, no worries. So
Get edited, right? Yeah.
yeah. So the cool thing about this is that we're seeing it being released on September 22nd, right? So assuming everything goes smoothly, that'll mean the day that you are hearing this, GNOME is probably released.
Yeah, and I think the biggest, or at least the feature that I'm waiting for the most is the new multitasking menu in the settings editor.
Is that the balance
This
profile
is going to
thing?
be hard for me.
Is that the balance profile thing?
Not only the balance. I cannot English.
You're all right. So my favorite thing about this release is that the balance profile settings, right? So if you've ever run Pop! OS 21, well, actually just any Pop! OS, right, since 2004. Yeah, speaking of I can't version number right now. So you have seen where you click on the right-hand side, you get that huge settings thing pop down, and you get power save mode, balanced mode, and high performance mode. That is coming to GNOME 41 to everybody.
Yes, that's right, Leo. That's what we all wanted actually in the normal GNOME. It's a feature request.
Yes,
to the devs.
I'm excited.
And now we only need gray icons in the top panel. Also, there's going to be a new Also, there's going to be a new multitasking section in the settings menu where you can turn on and off hot corners and window snapping.
Yeah, so I've got this up on the live stream now, and hot corners. So I had thought that GNOME had supported hot corners out of the box, but that's not the case?
I think it was only in the tweaks app. And I think I read some other things that were only available. And I think I've also read about some other things that were only available in tweaks, but now are coming to the regular GNOME settings. You can also set toggle. You can also toggle. We'll be also able to toggle dynamic workspaces, and
And I see in that multitasking pane in settings, you get so we talked about the hot corners. You get drag to screen edges as well. So this is the snap thing, right? Where you hit the left-hand side and it makes it big, right? Like takes up half the screen. That's that thing.
I think we can.
Yes, it is that.
Yeah, I think we can call it a some form of window tiling. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if it's also affecting the keyboard shortcuts when you press super left, right, and up
Right.
to resize the windows.
Mhm.
But at least you can enable and disable the dragging windows to the edges via the mouse.
That's pretty cool. So yeah, a lot of the things that came out of GNOME tweaks are now being being added directly to GNOME, which is, I mean, that's what everybody's been asking for forever.
Leo, the thing which you said, like hot corners, was an extension, GNOME extension, not GNOME tweak.
Oh, I mean, it's just baked into Linux Mint. So I take it for granted that I don't have to do anything to enable those things other than, decide what each corner does, or, nothing, I guess. Because
To be really honest, I started learning tweaking by using GNOME,
Yeah.
like do all these extension things. So not difficult, but
Right.
yeah, these are the most requested features which we are discussing about.
That's fantastic, though. I mean, I'm glad that this stuff is coming to GNOME, because I know that people have been complaining about not having enough functionality in GNOME as things kind of just fade away. And I'm glad to see that they're coming back. So some other bits, the last little bits are calendar now supports ICS. So if you have these ICS files that you can import all your calendar things, calculator got a whole new overhaul, and it doesn't look like GNOME 41 is going to land in Fedora 35 or Ubuntu. However, Fedora's still trying. They have GNOME 41 test days for Fedora 35. So I don't know, but we might see it in Fedora 35. We might be able to try it out outside of the GNOME OS that they distribute.
It is under testing. That's right. I'm going to participate in the GNOME 41 RC testing
Awesome.
for
Let us know-
Fedora at least.
Yeah, let us know how 41 works out.
In the Rawhide, if you download the Fedora Rawhide, you will get GNOME 41.
Sweet. All right. So we'll move on to KDE Plasma
One more
as
thing.
well. What's that?
I would just really be happy to one day see the entire GNOME tweaks menu baked into the GNOME settings.
It seems like that's what they're going for. I would be happy to see that as well. There's so much in GNOME tweaks that are just good, nice for anybody that wants to change up how GNOME behaves.
At least have GNOME tweaks installed, being included in the GNOME group. For
Yeah.
example, when you install Debian GNOME, you get tweaks by default.
That would be nice. That would be nice. But it seems like they're trying to just add it to settings instead of letting it be a separate application. And I'd be fine with either, to be honest. If it's there, it's there. So KDE Plasma, their anniversary edition, 5.23, their beta is out. So just some quick updates on this, where you're looking at Breeze theme improvements, an overhaul to address performance and accessibility of Kickoff. And Kickoff is that the menu that you get when you click on the KDE icon down in the bottom to launch all your application, shut down, all that kind of stuff. So that is getting... that is landing in this particular version. And then, of course, lots of Wayland improvements as well. So screen monitoring. I wrote this and I laughed to myself because it's exactly what this is. If you're running OBS and you start monitoring the screen, there will be a notification up in the tray or down in the tray or over there in the tray, wherever your tray is, because Wayland or because Plasma doesn't care where you put your tray. It will tell you that a screen monitoring software is running and let you know what that is. So screen monitor. And that also includes dragging and dropping from Wayland to ex-Wayland applications. So Plasma Wayland support is getting a huge bit of love in this particular edition. So if you're running on something like KDE Neon or possibly even Arch or Manjaro or something like that, you're going to get these updates and see how this is going if you opt in. So yeah, you'll be seeing it pretty soon.
Good time to spin up an install of KDE Neon, I guess.
Yes, and just wait for that to come down. I think I might do the same thing. So speaking of, go ahead.
I'm in a bit of a love-hate relationship with Plasma. I've been trying to get into it in the past weeks, but there's something I do recognize the potential and all the options in there, but something just doesn't really click with me.
Yeah,
Plasma.
there's some things that I have to tweak, like the animation speed. I have to crank that up a little bit for it to feel more natural. But I always do feel like while Plasma is one of my favorite desktop environments, one of the big things that I really dislike about it is that it seems like there's some lag there. So yeah, updates. I think the performance of 5.23 is really going to help out with that, but I'll test and we'll see how this goes. But speaking of Manjaro, the Manjaro Community Edition, Cinnamon Community Edition, ships Vivaldi by default now. So they won't be affected by the Firefox snap, nor should they. But what do y'all think about Vivaldi replacing Firefox in the Cinnamon Edition?
I have never used Vivaldi, so can't comment at the moment. But we'll try it and let you know.
I
But
can't
like
imagine
anything
this
else-
will be controversial at all.
There'll be people that wail about it, but you can always go and install another browser.
Yeah, if
It's
you're
not massive.
if you're installing Manjaro, I feel like you're capable of going to their little software
Yeah.
shop and installing Firefox if that's what you want. But
Or even Chrome.
okay, no, not even I will go that
Shock
far. I will not go that far, not ever.
Oh, and you forgot the Arc repositories in Manjaro, where you can install Firefox from.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you
Yeah,
don't
I
like it.
always use whatever stock browser there is to go and immediately install Chrome.
Silence.
Yeah, no. Well, so that's it. I mean, that's the whole news story. Vivaldi and Manjaro Community Edition Cinnamon have entered into a partnership, and it seems like through an interview on Destination Linux that the president, CEO, I cannot remember his title, but the Vivaldi guy, has said that he's looking to expand to the rest of Manjaro as well. So this might be a change that you see kind of one at a time, just looking at that backlash, right? Because I feel like this smacks a lot of the whole, what is it, the LibreOffice thing where they swapped it out for the proprietary solution and then everybody got upset, so then they just dropped it down to a choice. That might be what happens here, but it seems like it's going ahead strong. I guess the big thing that people will complain about is that there's 5% of the Vivaldi code base that is closed. Ooh, and it's the Vivaldi bits. It's the bits that make it look like Vivaldi. That's what's closed source.
But it's only like 5%, right? So it shouldn't matter much.
Well, I don't know. For purists, it'll matter. Even 0.0001% matters. But I think overall, in general, I mean, if you're even considering using Chrome, then this shouldn't have any effect on you at all.
It's a non-story.
I think so.
It would make a lot of sense for Manjaro to have those options or checkboxes in the installer, like for example Arch Linux does, where you can choose between various browsers and office suites and even file managers.
Yeah, it doesn't seem
Oh,
like the
even-
backlash is nearly as strong as the Office Suite backlash, so I don't know that they'll do it. But I mean, if they do if things do start to ramp up, I would say yeah, that's the easy way to do it. Make it a choice.
Speaking of office suites, can I just give a quick shout out to LibreOffice? Recently I discovered that you can change the menu bars to a more Microsoft Office like ribbon
Yeah,
style.
they did the ribbon thing.
Which is
Yeah.
That's pretty.
I
I would like to
Beautiful.
say that was first featured in Apache's OpenOffice, which LibreOffice is based off.
Yep.
I think.
That's cool. So the next story, we'll go through these last couple really quickly. Steam makes fixes to the Linux client and compatibility. So there were a few different things. There was a regression that caused too many open file handle errors during downloads of some games. So this would just fill up your logs and look terrible. That was fixed. The library pinning process is significantly faster at startup. So to get to your easy stuff, get to your stuff faster. Restore compatibility with NixOS. I didn't know they broke that, but apparently NixOS is re-supported again. And make user share NVIDIA, that directory, available to the container if using the NVIDIA proprietary driver, so that app-specific profiles can be applied. So this leads to better performance in some games, which is fantastic. So yay, more Steam stuff. Speaking of proprietary stuff, right? No one that objects to the 5% of Vivaldi would ever install Steam, right? Right? Right?
Or
No,
install,
never.
or those 5% would install it on Windows only.
Maybe so. And some more updates in the kernel 5.15. You get NTFS and SMB3 support. Better NTFS and SMB3 support. NTFS 3 driver by Paragon Software has been merged, and this is just going to give you better performance because before you were using the Fuse module. That was in user space. Now you're getting kernel level support for NTFS, which should translate to better performance with any file system or any NTFS on Linux file system. So that's going to be fantastic.
So was that fix in the kernel? Has that been uploaded by Microsoft? Is that one of the benefits of some of the work Microsoft have been doing recently on Linux?
They wouldn't directly support us that well. This is by Paragon Software. So, but they've been doing a lot of NTFS work over the past couple of years. So this is what they do essentially.
Leo, Microsoft hearts Linux.
Come
on.
They totally do. Even on that Azure thing that I'm not going to cover today because
Not to be believed in, Tony. Not to be believed in.
They heart Linux as much as they can make money off of them. So, I mean, it's true. They're not lying. There's just limits to that. So,
Okay, Leo.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Is it the NTFS? Today I was installing 5.14.6 on Ubuntu Mate. Was it the NTFS-3G?
No, NTFS 3G is the Fuse module, so you haven't seen the performance increases just yet. If you get on 5.15, though, when that does roll out, I think it's not out yet, is it?
It's on RC1.
Okay.
Last I checked.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So, when that actually rolls out and you can grab that, or I mean, if you want to test on the RCs, you'll get that support. You won't need NTFS 3G anymore. But,
okay. Because I was confused. Because we have been discussing this NTFS support since the last Saturday's show.
Yeah, it's
so
coming.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, coming, but not here yet. 3G will hold you over until then. SMBB 3 by Samsung. So Samsung has been doing a lot of this same type of work, and they've created the KSMBD kernel module that's now just baked right in. This is going to focus only on the transfer protocol itself. So they're not trying to go up against Samba. Samba will still be the implementation of how you deal with all of this. SMB3, though, is going to be underneath all of that, doing those transfers. So, again, another bit of performance increase on Windows-based stuff, which is pretty good over here in Linux land.
So, if it's Sony, will it increase Linux's performance on consoles when they have tried to run it?
It's Samsung, and I don't know. So, if they use this kernel, if they are getting on 5.15, then they would just get these performance increases for free. So, yes? Question mark?
Because I have, from what I read, Sony's PS3 can run Linux.
Ah, okay.
I share it after the show. I'll share it.
Okay, cool, very cool.
So that's why I was asking, since you said it's Sony's
Samsung.
Contribution to Linux. Oh, Samsung.
Yeah. So this might make it into the phones if Android does pump up their kernel, or if Samsung does that out of band. That would be nice, but not yet.
Android is planning to pump up its kernel to whatever is the latest when 12 rolls out.
So we'll see how that goes. And then
last couple.
Oh, go ahead.
I mean, NTFS support as well. Android
depends.
It'll be baked
on
into
what
the kernel.
version it's on.
It'll be baked into the kernel, so it'll be there. I don't know if they'll actually take advantage of it, though. But, I mean, someone with enough experience can just pop in a Windows share. I don't see why that wouldn't be possible anyway.
I don't know much about Paragon software, but I do know that I have been using they have an app in the Play Store for Android through which you can get NTFS support and support for various other file systems on Android, but it's not free. Then you have to pay separately for each file system.
Oh, ew. Oh, well, that's certainly a way to make more money.
You can just pay for everything in a bundle.
Well, I guess Yeah, you might want to pay for them a little bit more now because ext4, XFS, and ButterFS all get improvements in kernel 5.15. So if Android ever gets to that point, that company might be making a little extra money. But it is supported in the kernel, so if you've got a terminal, you might be able to just work around that. So we'll wrap that up. And then the last little bit of news that we have is some sad news. And that's, Tony, are you going to announce this for us? 'Cause I don't wanna
Ubuntu
say it.
podcast is going to end after 14 seasons. They're not even completing the season. They're going to end in the end of September. So the next two shows will be the last two shows of Ubuntu podcast.
Yeah.
Formerly Ubuntu UK podcast, but now calls Ubuntu podcast. But the good news is, if you want your fix of Ubuntu podcast, go onto YouTube. And you can find nearly every episode they've ever recorded there.
Yeah.
I won't say every episode because seasons 1 to 7, there's a couple of episodes that are missing, but the rest of them are there. And if you just want the audio files for seasons 8 onwards, they're on the Ubuntu podcast website.
Yeah, sad times, but congratulations to those guys. They hung in there for a very long time.
Absolutely. Wish them well.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling the podcast is just going to get their name changed. We're going to see another podcast sprout up with the same guys doing the same thing sometime in the future, or at least one or two of them, right?
Yeah.
I hope mintCast goes more than that, 8 seasons.
How long have we been going? It's been 370
we're
episodes.
13 years now.
Yeah, we're catching up.
It was 10 years. It was 10 years just after we joined, wasn't it?
So I leave that to you guys to continue on past 14 seasons, so we can say we're one of the longest running podcasts ever. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have seasons. We just plod along.
We don't take breaks. What's a break? We don't do that. We just go.
Don't worry, Leo. I'll make sure mintCast goes above 1,000 episodes.
Yes. Oh yes.
But
I'll keep listening.
Now the guys aren't recording a show every 2 weeks. They might be free to come and join us on a Sunday night occasionally.
Hey, now that could be fun. All right.
Guest hosts.
I love it when we get other podcasters on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that'll do
Anyway.
it for the news, and let's head down to the security update. The chats are broken. They're all broken. Every single one of them. Just stop chatting. That's the easy way to do it. Just get offline, stay offline, go outside, get some sun, vitamin D, all that kind of good stuff, and just never talk to anybody online ever again. And you'll be safe. But that's not going to happen, right? No one will do any of that. So, what am I talking about? There's a couple of things. Number one, which is one that I would assume more open source advocates are on than any other, which is Matrix. On August 23rd, there was identified a bug in the verification mechanism of Matrix.js SDK, which didn't sufficiently verify new devices accessing an account, which then allowed unauthorized users to take over and handle the encryption keys, which is kind of the thing that's super important in encrypted messaging systems, right? That one...
Yes, WhatsApp.
That one is So Dennis Kasak, I'm hoping I get that right. Elements security researcher figured this one out, so that's a good thing because it was found out internally before we ever identified any of this happening in the wild. But it's always a wise choice to periodically view all allowed devices on your account. Go to settings, check it out, see the devices. They each have unique codes. Verify that each of those codes match up to your device. Don't just eyeball it. Just actually go look. And you can revoke any of the ones that look not right. And if you're super paranoid, revoke all of them and then just re-add them back. It takes like 10 seconds each. It's not that big of a deal, but it's way better than having your account stolen. So, how bad is this? Not too bad. It's not too bad. Because on top of the ability of this particular SDK to, give people the keys to the kingdom, so to speak, right? you also have to have access to a user's username and password. So it's a two-step kind of thing. If you've somehow fished that information out of a user, you can leverage this particular flaw if their applications are not updated to take over an account. So by now, if you just let these softwares handle themselves, you're likely already updated. But if you haven't done that yet, go make sure to run your updates on any Matrix chat that you use, any application. Element, Fluffy Chat, Neko, there's a few more. So go update them if you haven't, if you've just been letting it sit in the back for a little while. Go push that button.
Yeah, as we always say, it doesn't matter what device you're running, updates are important.
Yeah, and so this
Whatever.
doesn't... Yeah, exactly. And this isn't just on Linux, by the way. So go do this on iOS. Go do this on Android. Go do this on Windows. Go do this on any platform you're running any of these applications on. They are all vulnerable to this. Go update your Matrix stuff. But...
And while you're at it, update all your security on everything as well.
Well, you might as well. I mean, if you're going to go update one thing, you might as well just go update all the things, right? Just go find all the security ones and make them go. That's a good, wise choice. But one thing that you cannot update away from is WhatsApp. If you are in the Facebook bubble, you very likely use WhatsApp. And it's not like we didn't see this coming, right? Because when you open up a chat, the first thing it says is, no one outside of this chat, not even WhatsApp, can read or listen to them. Except that's not quite true. Nishan, what were you going to say?
I suspected them the moment Facebook bought WhatsApp.
Yep, that was exactly my take on it. And I think
my brother was like saying, don't expect it to be secure. Don't expect your data to be secure, especially with Facebook around.
Yeah, and that seems to be the case. But, okay, so this is a pretty egregious story. However, it's not as bad, unless we learn more, unless there's more that comes out. It's not as bad as I initially thought. All right, so their tagline, right, again, is no one outside of this chat, not even WhatsApp, can read or listen to them. And this is coming off of I think it became a story mostly because we're coming off of the Proton Mail thing, where they were forced by the Swiss government to log IP addresses of a French whistleblower, and that person ended up in jail. So
why couldn't they just say no to the government?
Because then they would be shut down and Proton Mail would no longer exist. So but you can't just go up against the government that is allowing you to operate in the first place. I mean, if it were in America, it'd be the same way. I would imagine in any country, it would be the same way. I mean, if it goes up to the highest courts in the land and they say, give us the data, you don't have a choice. Otherwise, I don't know exactly what would happen to your corporation.
Example,
they didn't just give that information away. They had a court order that said that they had to give that information.
One example I can give where this did not happen. Apple. When FBI asked Apple to give data on terrorists from the iPhone.
Oh, well, okay, so there's a difference here. And so here's the thing. Proton Mail did not give any emails to anybody. Only metadata. So it was only access logs that Proton Mail could give to anybody. They did give the answer of, well, we don't have that data. And so the next best thing was, well, give us metadata. Give us data about the data. And then they used that to go ahead. And I guarantee you, Apple would do the same exact thing. Hey, that stuff is encrypted. I don't know. And then we had the conversation about CSAM as well, where they're doing the exploitation stuff, where they're going to be scanning that on your device now, where they put that on hold for a little while. But they're just waiting for the fur to die down, and then they'll just implement it. That's how that's going to go, I would imagine.
Okay.
But
so basically, Apple denied giving personal data of the user in that case.
As far as I don't know. I would have to look at that particular instance. But as far as I remember, I don't think Apple ever gave actual encrypted data to anybody. But I don't see why they wouldn't. I mean, if the FBI could prove that there was something that they needed out of an encrypted thing, if it's on the cloud, they likely have the keys. So
Okay.
I don't know. We'll see how it all plays out. But WhatsApp, so the deal with WhatsApp is basically if a user flags a message that they get, that message is then decrypted with the user's keys and sent to a group at WhatsApp that will verify the validity of the flag. So if you say, it was an unsolicited explicit picture, you flag it, someone looks at it, and then takes action on that. All I have to say is if you're at WhatsApp looking at those pictures, man, I am sorry.
There goes my communication with my best friend.
Yeah.
She-
Well, but again, it's only if she were to flag a message that anybody would be able to review it outside of you or her. So, yeah, I guess. If you're flagging each other's messages all the time, then yeah.
Okay. Wait, you can flag messages on WhatsApp? That's new. Okay.
It's I think it's basically just saying this is spam, this is exploitation, this is explicit, whatever. So if that gets flagged,
okay.
it gets pumped up, someone looks at it. Anyway, nothing that we didn't know before, I don't think. Anyway, well, that'll do it for the security update. And for the amount that you guys are swirling your fingers, we're not doing too terribly bad.
No,
and guess
actually,
what?
we're doing all right. We're doing all right.
Guess what? My bi-weekly wanderings will take about a whole 4 minutes. So we'll see how long Joe's 5 to 8 minutes actually is. So speaking of, let's head down to the bi-weekly wanderings.
Oh, you're going to make me slow this way down.
Yes, it is interesting.
So Joe, I'm starting the clock right now.
Right now. Okay, well, a couple hours yesterday, I did some cooking, and I let everybody watch while I was cooking. It seemed like everybody enjoyed that. So
There were some flexes to be had as well.
well, hey, you asked to see my muscles.
Listen,
That's what it
I will
was.
neither confirm nor
Hey.
deny that happened.
I heard it. Okay. Anyways, over the last couple of weeks, I did a fix on a micro USB port on a backup battery, and I found out that the battery actually uses 18650 batteries for its power source. The good thing about that is it means if it ever dies in the future, I can easily replace that battery. I guess this is considered micro soldering, but I've always just, considered it soldering. So it's fun to replace those ports.
It just makes it sound
I
more
also-
difficult if you say micro soldering. You make it seem like you
Yeah,
got to have like 3 sets of magnifying
micro-soldering.
glasses going down to the thing, and then you're
Right.
like,
Well, I need a hot air gun is what I need, and that'll make it a whole lot easier. And I'm
Joe.
just doing it with the
Joe, just
the-
blow on it. You're full of hot air.
the tiny tip on the soldering iron. Yes, I'm ignoring you actively now.
waiting for
I
it.
did a full cross-band cable replacement on a pair of Hesh 3s that also have 3D printed replacement hinges and the bracket that holds the whole thing together. Wonder how long it'll be before all the stock parts are replaced. The cable had become frayed and finally broke after a couple of years of my daughter using it. The replacement went well enough, but it's difficult to get the padding reseated the way that it was before. That was the only major problem I had with it. I will be doing this type of fix again in the future. I probably should have recorded it and put it on YouTube, but at the time I was just doing it for stress relief. Right afterwards, though, listener Dustin turned around and bought them, so I need to get them shipped out tomorrow. My son, who's been listening to a lot of audiobooks lately, does a lot better with single-sided headphones than he does dual-sided headphones. So I took a couple of headphones from the collection with broken hinges, and instead of designing a new hinge, because they're not the normal ones where I can just go and download something to 3D print and fix them, I converted them to mono and 3D designed and 3D printed a headpad for them. He seems to like them, but the headset that I did it with also uses a proprietary cable, and it looks like you cannot get that cable from the secondary market. So I added a cable to them the hard way. It's the cable I added is a little bit shorter and than I would like for a headphone of my own, but it works well for him. The new cable I was able to attach directly to the connector pins that were there for the 3.5 millimeter jack that was on the inside. And it worked really well. If I get a longer cable in the future, I'll probably do a swap. I should also mention that with the conversion from stereo to mono, the hardware conversion, you will get some devices that simply will not hook up properly to those headphones. So I might have to find a different solution there. I picked up some DIY replacement micro USB plugs to help fix some cables, because that's always what goes out on my really nice, really long cables is the connector on the end. And then on the Pine 64, I tried Manjaro Phosh, and it was honestly terrible. The UI was terrible. You can still load applications from the terminal, like with the Plasma version, but it takes a lot longer for any application to load. And while Anbox loads, there is an error with it using the keyboard on the device. So I can't actually like look up a new application to install in F-Droid. And it takes just anything in there takes like super long to load. I cannot express how long it takes anything to load using Phosh. Honestly, if I had tried Manjaro Phosh before I tried Manjaro Plasma, I'd have given up on Manjaro entirely on that phone. I did find a couple of interesting items on Facebook Marketplace. I got 4 1 terabyte external USB 3.0 drives for $80 total. I'm going to use them on my Raspberry Pi 4 builds going forward. And I was also able to find a 5-bay RAID tower that works over eSATA for $20. I think the max hard drive size for it is 4 terabytes, so a max of 20 terabytes total. But if I can get the drives at a good price, it'll still be worth it to me to use that, especially, you know, considering that I got the tower for $20. Work is asking me to use some of my vacation days because I've got like more than 4 weeks of vacation saved up. So not this upcoming week, but the following week, I will be on vacation, and this will hopefully allow me to get time to get my garage in better order again and take apart my computer and put it back together after a couple of hardware changes and deep cleaning.
Yay!
And that the hardware changes will be moving around those hard drives. So the 8 terabyte drive will go from the other external hard drive enclosure that I have to the internal, and then I'll probably pull the 2 terabyte that's in there and maybe the 4 terabyte that's in there and put the other 2 terabyte in that RAID tower as well. Work is also heavily pushing for a return to office. I do like the idea, but because of safety concerns, I may have to put it off for a while. And then today, like right before the show, I read a really interesting article on the history of air defense artillery. And it was really kind of weird to read history like that and remember it because I was there at the same time. So yeah, that's what I've been up to the last couple of weeks. Time.
Despite Leo's trying to extend your talking, you managed to come in under time.
Under?
Oh,
Yay!
How much time did I use?
Congratulations, Joe. It's the first time.
7 minutes instead of 8.
Oh,
Yay!
wow.
So Joe, you won't be there for Leo's farewell episode? 372.
I'll be there. I'll be there because I'll be, main hosting.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Oh, okay.
As a matter of fact, I think I'm supposed to be taking over the hosting duties on the next show with Leo there, so that he can, help push where I need it.
That's it. And I think I did the math wrong. Right, because the next episode.
I thought it was next episode, 271.
Sunday 17th?
Or 371.
Yeah.
You said you were going to be on 271.
371.
after
Okay,
that.
yeah. I will definitely be on
371.
371.
Yeah, 372 will be the first one without me. Oh, sad times.
No, wasn't it like 372
I know, that's what
your
I'm
last
saying.
episode?
I think I made a mistake. I think I said, well, number one, I said 272. That was wrong. Moss corrected me there, but I don't know now. Now I have to remember. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, a
definitely be there
request from
I'll definitely be there
request
for
from me.
371.
Please do 372 also, and then
I'll have to see how that
one
runs out.
one episode extra. I insist.
I still have to talk to Joe Rez because the more I get him on, the more you'll be back on.
Right, because I did the math on it, right? Because I said I was going to end up being tied with Joe Ressington at 78 episodes, and 76 episode was the last episode. So 370 makes 77, and 371 makes 78. So that'll tie us, and that's where I was planning. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Anyway,
Okay.
so to hear from one of the new folks, Nishant, how's it going? What's been going on with you for the past couple of weeks?
Lots of KVM running and Formula One races.
Oh, that's okay. So you watch the racing. I see.
Yes. So coming to KVM, I was testing it on Fedora and Ubuntu based distros. And one thing I found out that they run faster on Debian based, which is Ubuntu and Pop OS, compared to Fedora. That was the first observation.
Really? So
Yes.
was it just a feeling of that they felt faster, or?
Yeah. On Pop OS, it was like much smoother KVM running.
Wow, I wonder why that is.
And with Pop OS, it was a customized XanMod 5.14 kernel.
Ah, okay. And on Fedora, though, I would assume it was just a regular kernel.
Yeah, the mainline kernel 5.15 RC1.
So do you suppose it's the XanMod kernel that made those performance increases, or was it something else?
It was like KVM was like interfacing with Ubuntu based distros much better compared to Red Hat based like Fedora.
Pretty cool.
But one advantage was that Fedora had it enabled by default. The virtual machine.
True.
And coming to Formula One races, this season has been the most exciting so far, with Mercedes being challenged by Red Bull team on this occasion. So Belgium was a total washout due to rain. So they did 2 laps of the circuit and they awarded half points. Monza, the 2 championship contenders knocked themselves out on lap 26, and McLaren won for the first time in 11 years. And I have been distro hopping a lot. Just before the show.
I've noticed.
Just before the show, I had Garuda on. It was too flashy, and then I went back to Ubuntu Mate.
That's a good choice.
And also,
maybe you're on the wrong show. Maybe you should be on Distro Hoppers.
For as many as you do, that you might be able to contribute.
but hey, Mint has Mate in case you remember.
Yep, absolutely. I'm a cinnamon guy myself, but if I'm running something that is a little bit lower powered, I would probably go Mate myself.
No, actually, it's about the AMD performance, battery life wise.
Oh, that's
Ubuntu
right.
Mate.
You were saying that Mate got the power things in the corner as well.
Yes, and that on 5.11 kernel, 5.14 yet to get the optimization from Ubuntu team.
Very cool.
For the Mate flavor.
Very
So expected to be in 21.10 or 22.04 version of Mate.
Nice.
And I'm looking for either a SSD to upgrade the storage, like 800 Linux, 200 Windows, like majority of them to Linux. I don't know. I'm still confused to whether to go for Samsung or not.
Yeah, I'd say go ahead and do it. It was only a few models. Just stay away from the 970 line, I think is really going to be where... The 970 line was where they changed the controller, where you got worse speeds after about 140 gigs written, once you run out of cache. So I don't think it's going to affect many people, but if you go for the SATA SSD, the actual 2.5 inch, you tend to want to stay away from all of them because they don't trim. You cannot trim those in Linux.
No, I'm a NVMe
right
slot
So
now.
on NVMe, just stay away from 970 and you'll be fine. The 1 terabyte 970 specifically was the one, but I suspect we might see those chips pop up in others as well. So maybe 980, and you could stick with Samsung.
Okay. But I'm thinking of going Crucial SSD 1 TB.
Stay away from the P2 then, because they got caught in the same thing. So don't buy a P2 and you'll probably be fine.
Okay. And RAM also, I'm thinking Crucial itself.
I don't think there's anything wrong with their RAM. I like Crucial. They're pretty good. I'm a G-Skill guy myself, though, so I tend to just gravitate that way because I know the name.
Yeah, I've used Crucial RAM in the past, and it's fine.
Oh, yeah, their
It's good
ballistics
stuff.
line is fantastic. It's good.
And one more thing, like now I have to set up Ubuntu Mate for further use for the next 2 weeks. That's it.
Yep. Well, it'll be nice and stable for you. All right. Well, Norbert, what about you? What have you been up to these past couple of weeks?
Well, my mind has mostly been filled with stuff about going back to university. One part of me, it was really glad that we are finally going back to in-person classes because the dean of the faculty where I'm learning at is an immunologist. So way back last year, he even before anything started, at the end of August, he announced that everything will be held online. All classes, even practical classes, all exams and everything. And it was kind of disorienting. Also, both the way the classes were held and both for me because I found it kind of demotivating to not have in-person classes.
Yeah.
So I actually one part of me is actually really glad to finally have the in-person classes. The other half finds himself very disorganized and disoriented because I'm in the middle of my master's.
And that makes
what
it,
I want to say.
that makes it really difficult because I'm on the other side of that. So, I mean, I teach those classes and yeah, it was just one day in March and it was, hey, everybody, go home and stay there and don't come back. And, all your classes, yeah, they're online now. So, make the best of it. So, yeah, I mean, luckily for us, it was a fairly easy transition because most of our stuff was already online. But, yeah, the human interaction, there's nothing that can replace that. So I can totally see why it's exciting to get to go back and finally talk to someone to their face, mask or maybe no mask, I don't know. But just the fact that that contact is really important.
On the Linux front, I've been experimenting with I've actually installed Debian testing, so Debian Bookworm on an external SSD, which if someone is watching the video recording, you can see it on my camera feed. This was actually the main way I was dual booting Linux with Windows before I got a second internal SSD, and it was surprisingly good because I just got an M.2 SSD, and I ordered of these aluminum cases for it. It's a USB 3.1 case, I think. And while I was running various distros off of it, I didn't really notice any of them being slower than if I was running it if I was running them on an internal SSD. So since I got an internal SSD, I decided to use it for mainly data storage. And I have to say, I decided to format to exFAT, which is great because the thing about M.2 SSDs is that they don't really need that much power. And since it's now exFAT, even my Android phone can recognize it. So here I have a 480 gigabyte external drive, and I can use it to move files between my computer and my phone because both of them just handle it like it's a USB drive.
Well, that's a really good reason to have a Linux-based phone, right? That's fantastic.
And I decided to put Debian on it, so I have one portable distro installation right now because I wanted to have a system that I can move between my desktop PC and my laptop, and it's actually very convenient because
that is awesome. I'd love the idea of having having an external drive with an operating system on it, so that if you're in a situation where you don't have your own machine, you might be able to sneak it into somebody else's.
It's actually very convenient, but one thing I have to look out for is not to unplug it while the OS is running off of it. I actually done that 2 times yesterday by mistake, and everything just went blank, and there was a bunch of error messages in the TTY. So yeah, and I chose to put Debian testing on it with the Apache desktop because I haven't really used any of those long term, and I wanted to test them out.
Yeah.
And I also came up with a very bad pun in my language, Hungarian, because our word for Pocket is Zeb, and now the host name of this installation is Jebian instead of Debian. I came up with this joke, I think half a year ago, and I've been meaning to put it on to work in an actual installation, and I also decided to go with Debian because I want to use this installation for doing my thesis work on the university, and I want to have something that's both stable. I mean, even Debian testing is more stable than people tend to say. Speaking of Debian, I just did an update today, and GNOME 40 finally ended the Debian testing repos.
Really?
Which is nice because
Cool.
Which is nice because I have a 2-in-1 laptop with a touchscreen, and the main reason I really like GNOME are the new touchpad and touchscreen gestures you can do on it. And now I tried to do them, and I was disappointed because they didn't work, and I realized I'm on budgie.
Well, that's why I was so I guess excited for Hot Corners being part of GNOME 41. It's just built in now because when you have a mouse, you can't do those gestures. You have to use Hot Corners to emulate those gestures. But yeah, on a laptop or on a 2-in-1 or something like that, those gestures are fantastic.
Fantastic news. Fantastic news. Now expect Ubuntu to push up.
Yay! I hope so. We'll see how that goes.
Speaking of which, I have 2 more stories I want to share about GNOME and these touchpad and touchscreen gestures. A couple of months ago, I got a second-hand Microsoft Surface Pro 3 tablet, and my first thing was installing Arch on it because at that time I think Arch was only one of the few distros that had GNOME 40 in their repos, and I've been trying to make it work without a keyboard. And as far as I know, GNOME is currently the only DE that has a built-in on-screen keyboard. By default, I might be wrong. Anyone knows another one? Please tell me.
Cinnamon has... Well, I know Linux Mint has an on-screen keyboard.
So I had to realize that if you want to use a touchscreen device of any sort, going with Wayland session is a way easier. Give you a way easier time of using any distro because it just handles touch gestures and touchscreens much better.
I did notice that on Fedora when I was testing out GNOME 40 that Wayland did seem to accept those gestures more readily than Xorg did. So yeah, I think it's just that's the way it's going to go.
Yeah, I don't know about gestures with Fedora, but I do remember that when I had Fedora installed on a tablet that I did have to manually install an on-screen keyboard.
Oh, okay. Man, so, minimal.
Speaking of Fedora, it was the third thing I wanted to mention because I've also been trying to get Wayland to work on my NVIDIA GPU in my desktop, and I installed NVIDIA 34 with the net installer. I installed the NVIDIA proprietary drivers, the 470 ones, and I did a reboot, and I was expecting to default to Xorg, but it did not.
So it's
still on Wayland.
It seems support. Oh, wow, that's cool.
Because the thing about GNOME, and I think most Linux distros, is that whenever they sense an NVIDIA GPU and the NVIDIA proprietary drivers, they just turn off any sort of video.
Right. Yeah, for safety. Right. Yeah.
Just everything about Wayland just disappears. And I think Fedora was the first time when I could actually get into a Wayland session on NVIDIA proprietary drivers without having to tweak anything. Which is nice because one thing that gets me about GNOME is that if you use an XOR session, then on GNOME 40 you cannot use the built-in touchpad gestures, which is, I think it's kind of a shame because I think GNOME 40 was mainly designed for touchscreens and touchpad laptops, multi-touch touchpad laptops.
There was a huge focus on that,
yeah. If we get to the point where anyone can, with the proprietary NVIDIA drivers, run a Wayland session on Fedora without any problems, I think that will be the point when Fedora will become my go-to recommendation for anyone who wants to put Linux on their laptop.
Wow. All right. Cool.
I think
That
we're going
is-
to have to do a whole show just dedicated to that Surface and
Yeah,
the
because you
install
also-
process and how well Linux runs on there.
Yes. I also want to hear your process on how to install Debian on the external drive. So it sounds like we've got shows
And-
queued up.
The
Kind
custom
of to disappoint you
kernel.
because both of those were kind of straightforward. I mean, the surprising thing about the first Surface tablet is that you can just go into the BIOS settings and disable circuit boot.
Yeah.
And from then on, you just plug in the USB drive and install any distro like you would.
Nice.
Which is a lot easier than a lot of the older methods. But I also want to know if there were any pitfalls, because a lot of tablets have issues with either the touch screen or the audio out of the gate.
GNOME shell sometimes just stops responding to any sort of input.
You can turn
But-
it into a show. We'll let you run that show.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is something I never experienced when using a mouse or a touchpad, but
Yeah.
on a touch screen, sometimes it just breaks.
All right. Well,
So for a long time, there's been a big issue with in the tablet to sleep mode with Linux installed. I mean, specifically Surface tablets. But now, even with the regular kernel, without installing the Surface specific community kernel, I think
wow.
it handles suspending.
It's not just the
Easily.
Surface, because some of the Dell laptops also have a lot of trouble with sleep mode, and so you have to use some type of hybrid mode or something like that. But let's have a show on it.
Definitely. So,
For the show, you also mentioned putting Linux onto some ARM-based Dell tablets. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
you
Yeah.
said that. I was
Pinecone.
really interested to hear about those.
for sure.
Because that my main problem is the Surface Pro 3 is that the fans spin up quite often and they're really loud. And I know from the Surface Pro 5 on, they actually have passive cooling.
Right.
I should look into those, but I would really like to have an ARM-based Linux tablet with GNOME shell, yeah, because that would be my perfect device for consuming and watching media.
I can see that. All
Well,
right.
check
Well,
out some of the devices that have Intel M processors.
Okay, so Josh, sorry, I should refer to you as Josh the Third. Emergency. What have you been up to this past year? I almost said years. Well, I could say years because this is your first Wanderings. Well,
Yeah, it sure is. So I actually just bought a new microphone for this, a Samsung Q2U.
yes.
And,
Yes. So
yeah.
if you notice, that's going to be my wanderings too. That's what this is right now.
Excellent. Well, I don't want to steal your thunder, Leo. So I'll
No,
just
you have
say
it.
that
You
I've
have-
been.
The show is about you. You take it.
No. Well, I've been happy with it. I'll just say that. It seems like it's doing the job anyway. Aside from that, I got to deal with the aftermath of the T-Mobile data breach. So unfortunately, I was among the many users that were affected by a very severe breach that included names, driver's license, social security numbers, basically everything anyone would need to
Impersonate
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
impersonate you, right? Get your identity. So, what I decided to do was to just freeze all of my credit with the three major credit reporting agencies in Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, and two smaller ones in Innovis and the National Consumer Telecommunications and Utilities Exchange, and also froze check system, so no one can open a bank account under my name. So.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a rigmarole, and it's unfortunate. You'd think a giant telecommunications company like T-Mobile could maybe do a little better on their security end.
It's
because
not a
I
matter
believe
of
it's-
if anymore. It's just a matter of when. And the real downside to that is that how much work did you have to do, and anybody else, there was tons of people that were affected by this, had to do the exact same thing. How many hours of research and work does it take to do that for an individual? And then just multiply that by however many customers that was, 100,000, 200,000, something like that. I mean, some insane number of
Right.
work. I mean, yeah, it's terrible.
I believe countries should now invest more in cyber warfare and cyber security.
Yep.
Yeah. So, aside from that, perhaps to deal with that stress a little, I'm getting my motorcycle ready for the autumn riding season. Just got some new mirrors in for it, and that was the last component I was looking for. So those came in from Fleabay, and I will be putting those on this weekend and hopefully get out and relieving a little of that tension from said stresses. So excited for that. Yeah. And my final thing that I did, and about the only thing Linux related, was I replaced Manjaro KDE with Debian 11 stable XFCE as my secondary OS. So Mint, of course, is my primary. And yeah, that was pretty straightforward, as it usually is with Debian. And as always, completely rock solid, and very happy with it so far. First time I'm using Debian with Flatpak as well to extend the functionality a bit, and it's been going really well.
Yeah, that's the way that when I was testing it a little bit, a couple Saturday shows ago, that was my recommendation. I mean, Debian will be fine right now, for now, if you just install everything via Deb. But if you, in the next 6 months or so, you'll probably want an update of something. And Flatpak's the escape hatch. It seems to give you any of that GUI-based software anyway, get you the latest and greatest, and keep Debian 11 underneath and have the latest and greatest software. It's good stuff.
Absolutely. That's about all I have. So what have you been up to, Tony?
Well, welcoming you guys is one thing.
Yeah.
Welcome all three of you. Yeah, it's been interesting. I remember just under 3 years ago when it was me that was the new guy. It was rather strange. So welcome the three of you. As I've talked about on previous shows, I've been doing a lot of walking recently and doing virtual walking challenges. And the company that I've been doing them with decided to break a world record, which was my little comment at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
Me and my wife signed up for a 5K walk virtually. And it was to try and get the most number of people to do a 5K. You walk 5K, record it on some kind of app like your Fitbit or your Garmin watch or one of the phone apps that can record your activities.
Hey, you forgot the Apple Watch, Tony.
Oh, the Apple Watch. We use Strava to do it. And so we updated our evidence, and this week we both got our notification that we were part of breaking the world record. So I've got a little certificate on my wall that says I'm a record breaker. Yay!
That's awesome. Congratulations.
It is.
That. That's cool.
Cheers.
Congrats.
How long have you been banned from the record store?
Pardon?
How long have you been banned from the record store?
Stop breaking things, Tony. Stop it.
Yeah, breaking all those records. I've also been foraging fruit from the hedgerows, and I've been making jams and stuff, so that's good. Got some free apples off my neighbour and made some elderberry and apple jam. And I've been playing around with my little model, as usual, and been doing a bit of that.
So you're really just back in the swing of things then?
Yeah, I'm getting back in the swing of things. I'm actually feeling a bit better. But as far as Linux goes, as everyone probably knows, 99.8% of my PC use is Linux because it's my daily driver. I do drop into Windows 10 very occasionally if I want to print a document out on my colour printer, and that's the only thing at the moment I use it for. And I did that because I printed my wife's certificate out in colour. I haven't done mine yet.
Ooh,
in
fancy.
Colour. Yes. But the machine that's on, it's a little Dell 7250, a little 12-inch Ultrabook. And it's got Windows 10 and Susie Tumbleweed on it. So it was a few weeks ago since I last updated either of the systems. So I updated Windows first, got that update. That took about an hour and a half, and then updated Tumbleweed, and it took about 20 minutes.
And you know what the funny thing about Tumbleweed is those updates are, I mean, they're the whole
It's a
system.
full distro.
It's the
It's
whole
a full
thing.
distro.
But yet
Yeah.
still 20 minutes. Yeah, it's good. It's good
20,
stuff.
25 minutes, and it was done and dusted.
Jeez.
Yeah, so I was quite chuffed with that. And then tonight, just before the show, I decided to stick a 1 terabyte hard drive in my laptop, my Dell 7440. I've got 2 of them. I've got an i5 and an i7, and the i7 is the one I use on a daily basis. The other one actually has got dual boot with Windows on it, I think. I took out the other hard drive, stuck the 1 terabyte in. I actually downloaded the ISO for Mint, Mint 20.2 Mate, downloaded the ISO, burnt it to a USB key, did the install, transferred all the data, updated it, put the 511 kernel in, and it took just over an hour to do the whole lot. Now try doing that with Windows with a fresh install.
Good luck.
I have done Windows installation. Installed 2 ready for gaming in about the same time as Mint, which Tony said.
I figure I would
Because
still be at the
I've never
we're
done it
getting
that
things
quick.
ready for you stage for a while.
No, because I have the backup of the installers on my hard disk drive, so it helps a lot after install.
But doing a complete fresh install, you can boot and do a fresh install, and it can take 2 hours for all the updates to come down. Once you've even with a new ISO image, it can take a couple of hours to get all the updates installed.
Yes, updates installing is fine. I'm talking about clean, like from scratch, without any updates.
Yeah, I'm talking about that was including all the updates and updating the kernel.
Oh, 1 hour.
Linux Mint, 1 hour.
For Windows, it is 3 hours.
Yeah, it's about 3 hours to do exactly the same thing, at least. And then you switch it on the next day, and it wants even more updates.
Yeah. Hey, we missed these the first time around, so here's about 12 more.
We forgot about these ones. We didn't quite catch them. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. So what about you, Leo?
2 new things. I'm so excited. So number 1, on the back of Josh's comment, I'm on a Samsung Q2U as well. So what I wanted to do was, so here's the deal. Here's why I bought it. For 2 reasons. Number 1, I needed a new microphone for my other machine, my desktop. It's in a much wider room, so it has to be dynamic. Anything compressor mic is just gonna sound terrible because the acoustics in that room is just not great. So I needed a dynamic. I had an XM8500 for a while, but it's way too muddy. So I mean, everything sounds very muffled, and you just can't make it sound any better. So this was a response to that. Same type of mic, same shape, same everything, just about. But it is a much higher quality. So hopefully you'll get to hear that in the show. But I also wanted to try it. I wanted to actually field test it and see whether or not it's actually going to work out for me or not. And I think I did a couple of test recordings, and I'm doing today. I did our Saturday show with it, or not the Saturday show, just our Saturday meeting yesterday with it, and everything seems to be good. Everything is great. The best part about this mic is that it's got both outputs, or both, I get inputs, outputs, whatever. It's got XLR and USB, and you can use them both at the same time. Check it. Here's why I did it. I can have the XLR hooked up into my Focusrite Scarlett Solo into my Linux box the whole time. And for work, I like to use good microphones. It's just nice to other people, especially if you already have the hardware. So I use the USB connector and connect that up to my Mac for work, and I split them. I could quite literally record what I'm sending to students on my Mac on my Linux box at the same time. So it's just fantastic that you can do both at the same time. That is killer. It's a killer feature. So if I ever go traveling again and I still need to record something, I can take this microphone with me, but I do not have to take my audio interface as well, making it as good as like a little travel, those little micro snowballs. They're real small, but you don't have to build a pillow fort to put the microphone in so it doesn't sound terrible. So I really appreciate this mic. It is super duper versatile. It sounds pretty good. I think my pod mic does sound better, but my pod mic really does pick up a whole lot more of the highs. And if you haven't noticed, the sibilance, my sibilance, and you can hear it in that word, I'm sure, is pretty harsh. It can be pretty harsh sometimes, so I've got to get a de-esser after me. And I know Owen tends to do that as well, but he does some other effects that kind of calm that down too. But this mic seems to bring that back just a little bit. So I love the mic. The mic is fantastic. If you need one, it's a fairly decent price, about $60 US to get your hands on this. But it's fantastic for this kind of application.
It's about $90 over here. I've just checked it on Amazon.
Okay, technically it's probably closer to 75 with taxes and everything else. Our prices never include tax.
Yeah. With that price, I've got it down as 68 quid, including all taxes, which probably works out around about $90, $85, $90, something like that.
Yeah, that's not too terribly bad, especially for what you get with this mic. So, I mean, I would recommend it to anybody getting started with podcasting or anything like that. So, yeah, if you're in the market for one and you've got a limited budget, but, you know, not a tiny budget, the Samsung Q2U will be fantastic for you.
It is $390 US with import fees.
Oh, we've got to find a way around that. So the other thing that I got my hands on was Keychron K3. So speaking of work, I was talking to a few people that enjoy keyboards. They can't stand the Dell default issued crap ones. I don't know, to anybody that likes those, you're fine. But I'm a mechanical guy. I really enjoy mechanical keyboards. Especially linear keys, and I can get that in the Keychron K3. So this is a low-profile one. It's like halfway in between a full-size keyboard and those super-duper flat white Mac ones. It's right in the middle. Very nice. I went with the Gatoron red switches, and oh my goodness, it's like typing on clouds. And it's very quiet. That's my number one thing, Joe. To your, I'm sure to your chagrin, it's not blues. So you can't hear them 5 rooms over. You can barely hear them 3 feet over. It's fantastic. I love
your
this
keyboard is meant to be heard.
No, your keyboard is meant to be experienced, and that doesn't include ears.
By the people next door.
No. That just makes them want to choke you out, man. I don't know. That's just my thing. I cannot stand loud keyboards. Maybe so, right? Keeps them on their toes. But
and Leo, is that a Goku t-shirt?
It is. Well, technically, it's a Master Roshi t-shirt. It means turtle, but it's the turtle group that Master Roshi headed up. So Goku and Krillin and Yamcha and Tien and everybody went through that turtle school. But yeah, that's what that is. All right. Well, that's pretty much it. I really enjoy these 2 pieces of hardware. The Samsung Q2U is fantastic. The Keychron K3 is fantastic. I'm going to buy another one. I have to. I'm going to throw away all my keyboards, sell them, get rid of them, and then buy another Keychron K3, and that'll just be the only keyboard I own anymore. It's that good. I love it. But yeah, I guess that means we've gone through everybody. And
Leo, can I add some more to the bi-weekly wanderings?
Yeah, sure. What's up?
Okay, so before this show, I ran a nostalgia trip through those ISOs which Tony sent, the classic ones.
Oh, yeah.
Fedora 3, Fedora Core 3, Red Hat 3, all those old stuff.
Nice. Well, we'll talk about that more in the Check This Out, because I think we got it linked down there, so we'll talk about it then. All right, but that'll do it for our bi-weekly wandering. So let's head down to the Linux Innards. So in this Linux Innards, we're going to take a detour. And you've heard 3 new voices on the show today. So we're going to spend a little bit of time getting to know the new hosts a little bit more. Because, you're going to be hearing a whole lot more from them as we go on. Every episode, there'll be a new voice. So we'll start with the question, what got you into Linux? So Josh, we'll start with you. What drew you to Linux in the first place? Because Windows is so easy. I don't know why you would leave.
Actually, that is where I came from. My purpose for my PCs was always primarily gaming. So, I was a Windows user. Not out of any allegiance to Microsoft. It was just a piece of software that was necessitated to game. But as a result, I was, on a lot of general tech forums, and on these forums, they would usually have a couple of people that were Linux heads, and they went pretty hard for it. So one night, I got a little curious about what all the ruckus was that these folks were so impressed with. So I decided to do a little search engine foo and checked out what the best distro was, I guess, even though I wasn't really aware of distros at that point. Just looking how to install Linux, and came up with Ubuntu, like probably most people would, and put a little partition on the end of my drive and put it on there, and started using it. And at first it was a bit of a novelty, and I used it sparingly, but over time, as I got more comfortable with it, it just kind of rolled on, and it started taking over more and more of my time, and I got really interested in it and did the deep dive and the distro hopping and all the things that we all tend to do once we get in over our heads. And that was it. I was pretty much hooked.
So for gaming, do you tend to game only on Linux, or do you still split that time a little bit with Windows?
I still have a Windows installation for games that just won't run on Linux at all, or it requires just too much effort, or perhaps too much of a performance penalty. But it's very rare that I boot into it. And as I've gotten older, of course, gaming has taken a little bit of a backseat to other things. But when I game, I try to do it on Linux if I can. But if I can't, I'm a pragmatist to some degree, and I'll use Windows.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see having a Windows partition for gaming any differently than I see an Xbox in the corner under a TV. It's the same kind of thing, and you're using it just for games. Well, for the most part. I mean, but there's still nothing wrong with using Windows for other purposes too. But that's the way I see it. It's a glorified Xbox for me, so that's how it gets used.
Yeah, likewise.
Nishan, what about you? What got you into Linux?
Seeing my friends replace Windows on the lab computers at college with
peer
Ubuntu
pressure.
14.04.
That's cool. That's really cool.
And to be honest, one of the guys who was a total nerd in technical things, he now works for Linux Foundation and goes to Linux Foundation conferences.
So being a Linux advocate turned into a job.
Yes, kind of a job it is for him.
That's cool.
And
Did that friend have permission to put Linux on the lab computers?
we used to do it discreetly, like undercover, shadowy stuff. No permission, nothing. But sometimes what used to happen is when they used to install software updates for Windows, they used to wipe the Linux off. We used to install it completely to replace the Windows.
Yeah, that's what imaging is for. They can fix it fairly simply, but another line item to do today.
And I started using Ubuntu as a daily driver starting in 2015 with the Dell Vostro 3558, which came out of the box with Ubuntu 14.04. And then 3 years I used it. Then I took a hiatus in like 2018 due to work and everything. Then I restarted using Linux in 2019 or 2020, around when this pandemic hit, and I didn't have anything to do but then distro hop and try different things. And now here I am having 50% Windows, 50% Linux partition
That's pretty cool.
for now. Till I upgraded to a 90% Linux, 20%, 10% Windows.
That's the goal.
And like Josh said, gaming.
Yeah.
I prefer Windows because latest and greatest games don't run like this, which are going to be released this year, for example.
We're hoping
They don't run.
We're hoping that Proton will
Yeah.
fix that for us, but I'm going to keep hoping. I'm just going to keep hoping, and one day we might be 99.9.
Well, what I read about
Yeah.
Proton is they are like lagging behind in the DirectX support.
Well,
They
Yeah,
are on
what I've
DirectX
noticed
11 or
with
something.
what I've noticed with running games on Proton in Linux is that it just the frame rates are slower. It's a little less crisp. It's just the experience is just that little bit better in Windows.
we'll get
sadly,
there. We'll get there.
yeah.
Okay, so to compare two games which released last year and this year, the Formula One games, F1 2020 ran at 60 FPS on Proton. That to a custom Proton, not the Steam provided one. The glorious egg roll modification.
Right.
It ran at 60 FPS without any glitch. But the 2021 game, just the intro came and then it crashed
Oh no.
from my testing so far on Linux.
Yeah, that's where the tweaks come
So-
in, and those come a little slower, but they'll get there. I imagine that stuff will
I
get
hope so.
Sorted out and come a little faster.
And then after Ubuntu, my second distro was Fedora 32,
Nice.
32, 33.
Well,
And that
let's-
got me into system admin.
Nice. Well, let's hear a little bit about Norbert and what got you into Linux. What was the catalyst there?
My first encounter with Linux was trying out Ubuntu 9.04 in a VM back in those days, and then I didn't really go anywhere further other than just trying out. I had a bit of a struggle installing it, and I realized there's something called Intel virtualization technology. You have to enable in the BIOS. After I got through that, I installed it and haven't really used it, but I did check out a few years later Ubuntu 10.10 Maverick Meerkat, which is still my favorite Ubuntu code name by far. I didn't really go anywhere with that one either. Fast forward many years to spring of 2019. I'm a biology student, and since coding and programming is more and more prevalent in biology, I took a Python class, but I did not have a laptop at the time, so I managed to get a fairly low spec laptop, and I was trying to find an OS that would run properly on it. So my choice fell on Linux Lite because of the name, I assume, because it has Lite in the name, it must be for lower spec hardware. I guess I was right because it has XFCE, which of course I didn't know at the time. I didn't really know. If you asked me back then to list any distros I knew, it would have been Ubuntu and OpenSUSE, those two. So for that one semester I used the laptop, but then I didn't really stick with it. I didn't really learn how to do anything specific other than installing stuff using apt. Fast forward again to the autumn of 2020, I started my bioinformatics masters, and on the first week, one of the first things we were told is to download WSL because we were going to be working in remote on servers, and then I did that, and I moved to using a Ubuntu virtual machine because I felt it would be more convenient. Then I was looking to get a laptop because I knew eventually we were going to go back to in-person learning, so I wanted to have a laptop, and then I realized I don't really have any reason to put Windows on it because the main reason I depend on Windows is using the Adobe suite. And I wouldn't do that on a laptop because I didn't have a dedicated GPU. So I put Ubuntu 20.04 on it, and was so out of touch with anything Linux related that I booted up Ubuntu, which of course was running Gnome 3.38 or 36, and I looked at it, and my first impression was, that's Unity. So I went ahead and began installing Gnome Shell, which actually worked. So then I had two different Gnome sessions in the login manager. One is the regular Ubuntu one, and the one is the vanilla Gnome. So when I logged into the vanilla Gnome session, and I realized Gnome software was just gone, replaced by something that's called the Snap Store.
Oh,
And I was like, what's the Snap Store? And then I tried to bring back the Ubuntu store. I, of course, didn't know anything about universal package managers. Then I tried to install Chromium.
Oh,
I was
there
like-
it was. That's the one.
I was using Chrome on the desktop on Windows. I didn't really see any reason to use it on the laptop because using Chromium was just much more convenient. And it was calling for a snap. It's a snap, I thought. And then I tried to remove snaps altogether, but when you try to install Chromium with no snaps, it just reinstalls snap.
Mm-hmm.
So my friend who was using Arch at the time, he's a programmer, and his very first distro that he was using properly was actually Arch. Because I guess if you're a programmer, it's easier to get into Linux that way. And he recommended me Manjaro because it's Arch-based. He never actually used Manjaro, but he was familiar with Arch. And then I switched to Manjaro after literally one day in Ubuntu. And I stuck with Manjaro for 5 months. In the meanwhile, I was using Debian and Bunsen Labs VMs on my main computer. Bunsen Labs is actually one of my favorite distros because it has a really nice pre-configured open box setup. It also uses really resources. So whenever I need a VM for something, I will almost always go with Bunsen Labs. Then after 5 years on Manjaro Gnome to be specific, because laptop I got was I wanted to have a 2-in-1 laptop with a touch screen, and I remember I think more than 10 years ago when Gnome and Unity came out, I wasn't using Linux, but somehow the news of these two desktop environments reached me, and I actually tried the very first Gnome 3 version in a VM, and I really liked it, I guess mainly because I never used Gnome 2 for anything
You didn't have the
related. So
attachment.
I
so many
didn't have
people
the
did.
attachment. So that's why my first thing on my mind was installing GNOME 3 after I got Ubuntu. I didn't know it actually had GNOME 3 already. So after Manjaro, I get curious and I tried to install Arch in a VM and on actual hardware. And that was when I realized it already had GNOME 40 because they have a lot of new stuff in their repos. And then slowly, I wasn't sure about GNOME 40, but I grew to like it because the new touchpad gestures are amazing. So that was the point when I thought, okay, this is probably the best possible combination for me on the laptop, Arch with GNOME, because I like both. I like the convenience of the AUR. And that was around the time when I realized I wanted to use Linux on my desktop as well. So I wanted to try XFCE. I never tried XFCE before, and my choice was MX Linux.
Nice.
That's when I fell in love with XFCE. It's still my daily driver desktop environment today. I also tried Endeavor and Void Linux, which was very interesting. And still now, I think I've been on Void Linux for a few months now. It was interesting because it feels way more minimal than Arch. So I was curious to see if I can really drive Void without jumping into the problems of not having packages available. I think the biggest issue for me was not having Brave available, but then I found a script called xdeb which can convert deb files to xbps files, which the Void Linux package manager can handle. So after that, everything was very clean to use all resources. So I think Void is now my top favorite distro. If it went before Arch.
That's pretty cool.
I think I've been talking for too long.
No, you're good. It's good. It's a good story to hear, but I'll hand it to Tony and we'll scooch on.
I love how you were able to mention that you're an Arch user in there.
Yeah, I
By
think
the
it's my
way.
second time today mentioning that. I was trying not to, but I realized because of the interview it was inevitable.
MX
I also
Linux,
tried
by the
Pop
way.
OS and Fedora.
Yeah.
MX Linux is great.
Norbert, you... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to stay with Norbert to start off with. So the next question is, what drove you to say yes to being on mintCast when we put the call out on the last show?
Well, since it's the beginning of a new term at university, it's right about my 1 year anniversary with using Linux. And last year, I actually found Linux User Space and Distropers Digest separately. And then I found mintCast. And I was surprised to see all of these people who I heard in separate shows to be in one big show.
Yeah.
So it was an epic crossover episode. And
cool.
then mintCast slowly became my go-to podcast when I wanted to listen to the back catalog of a podcast.
Mhm.
And then I started attending the live streams, and I just found it was a really nice community and it's a really nice atmosphere.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Nice.
and then when I attended these roundtables, these everyone can join and talk streams, I didn't really expect to be recruited, but here I am.
That just kind of happened.
So, Josh, why did you say yes? Why did you put your head above the parapet? And
Yeah, this
join
is I like the question because it's not why did you decide you wanted to join mintCast? It's how come you said yes when I asked you?
Yeah, it was a bit of an unexpected but pleasant surprise. That was actually the first roundtable I'd ever jumped into, and I think I got in there a little bit late. Yeah, I wasn't expecting it, but it was a fantastic surprise. And as Mint is my main operating system, the mintCast has been a main podcast for me for news and a source for, Mint news and general Linux news. So, been a fan for a long time. And to get the chance to come in here and talk with everyone, yeah, why not? Couldn't possibly go wrong, right?
Hey, right?
Oh, it'll go wrong. It'll go wrong.
As I've demonstrated already.
That's what editing is for.
Right.
Yeah. So finally, Nissan, what made you say yes to joining the podcast?
Awesome hosts, Tony, Leo, and Joe, making like every episode which I watched before saying yes. I've had like amazing experience with you guys. Even though if I was just chatting with Leo on most of the shows and Joe. So that's it. So I wanted to go mainstream with my Linux knowledge because my friends regard me highly in the community, like
Nice.
technology community, that you know Linux well, cyber, you know a lot about cybersecurity as well. So
That's cool. Hey,
I wanted
good.
to go mainstream.
So someone can take over the security update then and be as passionate as me when I scream and stamp my feet about terrible, terrible things like WhatsApp.
Yeah. I don't know about
that's
that.
not me.
I don't know about that thing about going mainstream. I've been here 3 years and I still know about Linux.
It's all about the Twitter game.
Yeah.
Like my main idea to join mintCast was like share with my own knowledge with like-minded people. Even though I don't run Linux Mint, but that's fine.
It is.
All
And-
users of Linux.
Yep. That's the main thing, and I think bringing the huge breadth of knowledge and experience and everything into one
And
show.
you wouldn't
fantastic.
believe it. This would look really good on my resume going forward.
Well, then that's good. That's good. I mean, technically it's public speaking, right? I mean, in front of I would say live studio audience, but whatever, like a live stream audience, and it's something that goes out, and a lot of people hear all of the time. So, at the end of that question, I just wanted to say thank y'all for answering the call and coming on here, no matter how much it hurts, because I remember the first episode of mintCast that I was on, and nervous doesn't quite encapsulate it. It didn't quite encapsulate it for me. It was a little bit more than that. So
Was that your first podcasting experience though?
real live? Yeah, absolutely. It
Okay,
absolutely was. Episode, what was it?
Okay, and
292 or whatever it was, 70 something. I don't know.
okay, and can I have a shout out for my brother Prashant, because he helped me with Arch Linux installation. He's a nerd when
Nice.
it comes to Arch.
Got it. You always
Shout
have
out,
to shout out all the nerds on the show. That's the whole point.
Yeah, he helped me set up Arch before I discovered the Arch install script. like the tough one. And he has maintained Arc for 2 years without breaking it
Wow.
on his computer. So
So I installed Arch. I was so proud of myself. I was so satisfied that I learned that this is about something called Gentoo, and I realized there's a deeper rabbit hole. Yeah.
Oh man, I don't want to compile that much.
Linux from scratch. They just give you a book to read and do everything. Okay.
So should we move on to Joe
Yeah.
to ask the next one?
Okay.
Yes.
Well, the next question is, what do you love the most about Linux? Nishant?
I love the different desktop environments you can use, plus the continuously going on kernel upgrade, unlike Windows, which is stuck at NT7. Last I saw on Windows 10, it was NT7 something, but Linux kernel development keeps on moving forward with time and patches.
Cool. Norbert?
And one more thing, the variety of distributions I can contribute code to any time of the
I
day.
love that.
Oh, yeah. Being able to contribute. Norbert, how about you?
Well, I was growing up. In my mind there were two kinds of toys. Was Lego, not Lego. So I think it's not a surprise that my favorite thing about Linux is modularity, and I really like installing a minimal system and try to build it up from there. And I also like how it is very transparent and privacy respecting. Recently I tried Zorin OS, and in the installer it asks you whether you want to take participation in the I'm not sure what's it in English, in the head count of how many people install the OS, and it even asks that. So I just like how I like how Linux operating systems are geared toward appealing to the community, because it is mainly community driven.
Yeah. I mean, without your community, your distro is nothing. So it's important to actually do those kinds of things. And yeah, I appreciate those kinds of questions as well. If you ask me, I'll say yes. If you don't, I'll go in and turn it off.
So this is the reason why he uses Arc all the time, modularity.
Hey, maybe that's it, right? I mean, you choose.
Right, Norbert?
Oh, I think it covers it.
Okay. Well, Josh, how about you? What do you love most about Linux?
All the things. But if I have to choose one, it's probably the communal aspect. I think that the fact that anyone can contribute, the fact that you can go in and talk to a lead dev and have a conversation and actually have sway, within the community, it's an amazing thing. Something that you probably won't find in any other, certainly not in proprietary software.
Yeah, go tell Apple what you want them to do.
Right, exactly. So, I just love that. I love the fact that anyone can contribute despite their skill level, and the symbiosis that exists between the developers and the user base. And community and collaboration is kind of at the heart of Linux, and I just don't see how it could exist without that.
That's cool.
Most people who run Linux do so because they choose so. And
Right.
That's really nice. It's a really nice thing, because I think a lot of Linux users might know more about Windows than the average Windows user, which is interesting.
Yeah, well, I think you have to, because you have to know at least a little bit to get it on your machine in the first place. So that opens up the door, and if you're someone that likes to tinker, it's a can of worms that you'll never get out of. So the show will, I won't say that the show will change, but the show will, I don't know, well, there'll be
Evolve.
additions and there'll be removals,
Evolve.
right? I mean, yeah, there you go. Evolve. So, Josh, I'll start with you. Where do you want mintCast to go over the next 12 months? So let's say that both, all three of y'all are going to stick around for the whole year, and I guarantee there'll be suggestions that you have, things that you do that are different than the way that certainly I did things or Joe and Tony did things. What do you think you'll do, or where do you want mintCast to be in the next 12 months?
Well, if I can give you guys a little bit of adulation first, I think you've done a fantastic job with this show, and I love it in the format that it exists right now.
Woo.
And as a bit of a conservative type of person, I'm hoping that it continues on in this sort of format with perhaps some iterative changes. I know there's going to be some changes in the voices that people hear, but I really enjoy it as is. And I'm not much of a prognosticator. I don't know. It's not my strong suit.
Hey,
so,
that's all right. All you
yeah.
got to do is just say yes when somebody else has a change or no otherwise, right? Because, yeah, you'll
Right.
be all right.
There you go. So that's about all I have on it.
So, Norbert, where do you want to see mintCast go in the next year?
One of the highlights of the show so far has been the interviews you guys do, because I think out of the several podcasts that I listen to, you guys tend to find the most interesting people to interview. So I think I would like to have more of those interviews.
All right. And I know, Joe, you were talking about bringing Toyum from the Void Linux project, and that goes right to you, Norbert. So this will be a pretty good opportunity.
No, Toyum was talking to me the other day saying he got a new recording rig and wanted to try it out. So I'm going to try and get him on the show.
Well, that'll make things really easy on the editing side. So heck yeah, that'll be a really interesting conversation. I look forward to that one. So Nishant, what about you? What would you, if you had to change something? What would you change in the next year?
Do a bit more kernel only reviews, like keeping the distribution same.
Oh, okay. So I guess
just a thought. I'm not like forcing you guys to change the whole show just for that.
Well, you say the show like it's not yours. It's yours now as well. And if really the way that I would do things is put it to everybody first. And if we had an overwhelming no, it just wouldn't happen. So I think that's the way to do it, right? Put it out to the hosts as a whole and decide where you want it to go, or whether or not it changes in form by the time you make that change in the show. So,
like
you guys haven't been informed yet, but you're going to be picking the topics for the next several shows.
Well, we have a lot already kind of queued up because we were talking about a lot of things. Norbert, you had a couple of different topics that we could really dive into.
Nerds topics, you mean?
Yeah, in the Linux Inners, we
That's
just
fine.
take a half hour and talk about random stuff, usually tech related. And
I would love to talk about do-it-yourself Linux tablets.
Yes,
absolutely.
Well, that's Joe, so Joe will help you write the half of the show, so that'll work out perfectly. So yeah,
Going back to
new topics and new things that you bring to the table are going to be really interesting.
Okay, but for the bi-weekly wanderings, what I can do is like test new kernels and then review it. Like on bi-weekly
I was going to say, as far as doing kernels, there's nothing wrong in doing an innards one episode on particularly a big kernel update that has a major effect, say on NVIDIA or something. Someone running it as a trial to see what it like and giving it, like you say, doing a review on it. That'd be great.
Yeah.
And there are also
What'll happen
out-of-band
is-
kernels, right? Like Xanmod and Zen that don't really get much play in the Ubuntus. Just because you have to go out and do them yourself, they tend to just fall to the wayside a lot of times. So
and one more, the Arch Linux Zen also doesn't get noticed much.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we do a show like that where you're the subject matter expert for it, then you'll do most of the talking and we'll occasionally ask some questions to help drive things forward.
Yep.
And that will be the show.
That's pretty cool to me.
Okay.
That would be the innards for that show, yeah.
Okay,
Cool.
That's it. That's how I see Linux Mint in the next 1 year or 2 years or 3 years.
Cool.
So, over to me, I think, with the next question. Keeping with Nissan, what's your current favorite distro?
Distro or desktop environment?
No, distro.
Currently, my favorite distro is Ubuntu Mate, hands down for its battery efficiency on AMD hardware. With the default kernel,
Cool.
not the newer kernels, but
Wow,
that's
cool.
a caveat.
Cool. Yeah, I love me a bit of Mate, and when I've installed Ubuntu Mate, I've always enjoyed it. It's
I could never
It's only
convince
the
you to
fact
get on
that
Cinnamon. I couldn't do it.
Mint probably does it a little bit nicer, but that's my personal opinion. That's why I stick with it. But yeah, it's a good distro. Yeah.
Okay, one advantage here that the power saving tools are already installed, like TLP and everything on
Right.
Ubuntu Mate.
That is nice.
Cool. Yeah, that is nice. I've just done that reinstall of Mate this evening, and I had to install TLP. So,
And if you ask me Arc based, it has to be Endeavour OS, hands down.
another good distro. Yeah, I've got Endeavour running as well.
Yeah, you and Tony are going to get along just fine.
So, Josh, what would your favorite distro be? I think I already know the answer to
I'm
this.
guessing you probably do. Yeah, it's Linux Mint Cinnamon. Yeah,
Whoa,
I just
Man
love
after
it.
my
It's,
own heart. Yeah, I can't fault you for that one.
right there with you, Leo. Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, it's so easy to set up and use and fully featured. Yeah, it's just really pleasant. So, always been rock solid for me. I can't complain.
You customize it in any way?
Not too much. It's pretty well set out of the box. I theme it up a little, and I think primarily with just a dark theme, and that's about it.
Yeah,
Icons they use.
that's what I like about the Mint spins. Cinnamon, Mate, whatever. That you don't have to do an awful lot of tweaking around with it. It does work out the box.
Yeah, and for me, I just push it out of the way. I mean, I make things really, really small, push it up to the top, and make it transparent, and that's pretty much it. I see very little of cinnamon ever.
I think the only issue with Mint which I had was the newer hardware support. Because
Yeah.
I'm on AMD 2021 AMD processor.
So if
That's
it
Yeah,
works
you-
on Mate, then you can get the Edge version of Linux Mint, and it'll have the same kernel that the newest versions of Ubuntu have as well. So there's a
Okay,
workaround. It's not perfect, but it's a pretty decent workaround.
I would have to then get used to cinnamon
No,
because
you
it's
can.
the
There's
only
Mate
one which
as well.
Edge.
Oh no, you're right. You're right. Cinnamon. The Edge only does come with cinnamon. You're right.
Right.
Okay.
So Norbert, what about you? What would you say your favourite distro is after talking about all those ones that you've tried over the last 12 months?
Oh, yeah, I'm kind of still am a chronic distro hopper, and I've been sort of on two different missions. One was trying to find the perfect distro for me on my desktop, and finding the perfect distro that is the most convenient to use on my tablet. And my laptop is also there, which I've also recently started using again because of university. And I've sort of started gearing away from distros that are kind of set up for you, but you have to do some tweaking like Debian. And I took more interest in both very minimalistic distros like Void and very user-friendly distros like, for example, Fedora. The latter is because I really want to have a go-to recommendation for people who are not very tech-savvy but want to change from Windows. And I think in that field, Fedora, since they switched to GNOME 40, might be my favorite one so far.
Wow.
It's kind of a shame that one has to enable RPM Fusion by hand,
Yeah.
and also it does have Flatpak built into the software store, but you have to still add the FlatHub by hand. But if you do those two things, I think it's one of the most convenient distros for people who don't really want to do techy stuff. I would say my favorite distro overall would be Void Linux because I really like its simplicity, but it's still not harder to get stuff done. Like I said, I mainly use it with XFCE, which is, I know it doesn't have an official DE, but it's still, I still kind of consider it to be very fitting for Void. And the repos are surprisingly big. For example, there's stuff like uLauncher, which I use, that are not in the Debian repos, but it is in the Void repos. And so far it has basically almost everything that I need. And I also like how in idle my computer uses only 500 or so gigs of RAM, and that's with NVIDIA drivers. And I do have to mention that I think out of the distros I tried, Void is where I had the least number of problems with the NVIDIA drivers, because before that I was using Endeavour, and it has a different way of installing NVIDIA drivers than Arch, and for some reason it didn't really work well. It had some issues with the performance, the graphic performance. So right now I'm happy with Void, and I do like to keep Arch around because of the AUR, and we have to use some obscure software for university stuff in bioinformatics, like stuff for analyzing. For example, when they sequence genomes and DNA, these are basically you get a lot of very big text files, like a plain text file that is many megabytes or even up to a gigabyte, many gigabytes in size, and so programs to analyzing those, for example. And so far, I found everything in AOR that I didn't expect to find there. So
Wow.
I would say Arch is a very good choice for people who are work or study natural sciences.
That's cool. So Void.
I would
then.
say number one is Void. Number two is Arch. If the NVIDIA stuff work better on Endeavor, I might put Endeavor above Arch right now. And I also have to shout out to MX Linux, which is also very nice. And they also have a very convenient NVIDIA driver installer.
Nice.
Cool.
Well,
So-
MX is Debian based, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So all Debian based distros have a easier way to install NVIDIA graphics. What I have found from running Ubuntu and its derivatives, Debian itself. So it's always easy on a Debian based distro.
Yeah. Okay, Joe, do you want to take the final question?
Okay, what's your current favorite desktop environment? I'm going to start with you, Norbert.
Well, I would have probably said XFC, but lately I've been leaning towards the Budgie desktop, which is because I really like the GNOME settings menu, which is the one that is also used in Budgie. So anything where I have to use a touchscreen, or I have to rely on using the touchscreen, I think GNOME is by far the best, because either that or KD Plasma, which are the two main ones that have Valence support. But if I want to, for example, the other day my keyboard for the tablet temporarily died for a couple of hours, and if I was running Plasma, I would have no choice but to use an external keyboard. But GNOME is very well suited for a touchscreen by default.
Cool.
We use only by touchscreen. And on the desktop, I think I stuck with XFC because I wanted to see how minimal I can get a distro while still not going to using a window manager, sticking with the DE, and also having a low RAM usage. And my tablet, I had to realize that low RAM usage then doesn't equal low battery usage. So I was shocked when I realized
Right.
how much longer it lasts with Windows on it. So I'm also on a mission to extend my battery life for my tablet.
Very cool.
So
Another
I think
show.
I would say XFC, Gnome, and Budgie.
Okay. Now, I have noticed that GNOME is actually really, really good for a touch screen. But I still like using Cinnamon even with a touch screen. It just requires quite a bit of tweaking to work well, mostly with the bar and the sizes. Now, Nishant, what is your favorite desktop environment?
Okay, there are a couple of DEs which I actually like. And does this include Window Manager too?
Whatever you want.
Yeah.
Okay, so first I would like to say that my overall favorite DE is Gnome, because I like to tinker a lot with settings and everything. So I enjoy Gnome. Like Norbert said, do it yourself Linux desktop environment. So, and second shout out to the Mate team, especially the Ubuntu version.
Yeah,
And
I usually install Mate on like all of my devices.
yeah, but Ubuntu version is like optimized for battery life and lightweight usage. And window manager i3WM has to be the favorite window manager for me. The tiling window managers, if you consider.
Cool.
Oh, and Josh, what's your favorite desktop environment?
I'm sure no surprise here, but Cinnamon. It just mimics that Windows desktop paradigm that I was so used to
The
throughout the
Windows
years.
XP feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And also one of the few DEs that I never experienced screen tearing on at all. It seems like they've really got that worked out well right out of the box. So, yeah, not a lot of tinkering to set up. It's just there and good to go, and makes for a real pleasant experience.
Okay.
Realize I would love to have a Linux Mint Budgie edition.
Ooh.
But it's
Yeah,
still
if
the
Cinnamon were ever to
conventional.
leave, I would Budgie would be my fallback if I were going to stay on GTK.
Okay, a question. Does Ubuntu have Cinnamon Edition at this point of time?
It's still technically
Yes.
a remix. It's not official, but yes, they do.
You guys had
we had the developer on for an interview. He
Josh
was what?
Pesach, another Josh.
How old was he? 15 at the time?
Yeah,
14?
if that.
He
Yeah,
was
he was a young guy.
Wow. Even
But
the
if I have-
Ubuntu Unity dev is as young as him, 15, 16, I guess.
Yeah, and that was a couple of years ago. So I think the Ubuntu Unity dev is younger than Josh Pesach is. But yeah, it's been that was a really cool conversation. All right,
also
well,
plan to fork Unity itself, which is rather interesting thing to look forward to.
yep, definitely. So I guess that'll wrap up the Linux innards section. So as we hit more and more episodes, you're going to learn more and more about these three guys. And yeah, I imagine you'll fall in love with the all-new mintCast. But until then, we'll head down to the vibrations from the ether. So we got a couple emails, and the first one comes in from, and I know this is likely not Michael, so this might be Mikel or Michel. I don't know. I hope I get one of those right at least. But they write in, first, I've been a lurker on your podcast for quite a while, and as a Linux Mint user for many releases, I've learned a lot from the podcast. After your Debian 11 discussion on mintCast 369 live stream, first time watching it, I have a personal experience with Debian 11. My environment, 3 laptops on Linux Mint, of which one of the laptops is partitioned with LMDE and Debian 11, and 1 media server running until recently Debian 10. Second, I tried Flatpak a few releases back, and it was crap, as it did not see anything beyond its own environment. So I'll stop right there real quick. Flat Seal will help you figure that stuff out. I don't think Flatpaks by default can see anything in the system. They can see your home folder if they ask for that permission in the first place, but with Flat Seal, you can go in and specify, yes, you can see this, no, you cannot see this. Snap can do this too, but it's a little more involved, and you have to be on an Ubuntu distro to get that by default. Otherwise, you have to go install the Snap Store, I think. So, yeah, anyway. They continue on, listening to the podcast and how you guys were really excited about it. I gave it another try. Well, it was a completely great experience compared to my previous one. I've since been very pro Flatpak since on Linux Mint, LMDE, and Debian. Yes, that's the right way to see the light. Anyway, my bad experience. On the Debian 10 server, I upgraded to Debian 11. After a short time, Samba shares died on the Apple TV. Next, the NFS shares no longer connected to the laptops with some bizarre stuff. The NFS shares dying did it for me. I flushed Debian 11 from the server and installed Ubuntu Server 2004 on the media server. NFS shares are okay, and Samba shares are okay. Well, almost. Debian 11 non-free on the laptop and Flatpak are great. I pretty well have all my required apps on Linux Mint 20.2 working great on Debian 11 and LMDE 4. Thank you, everyone. Much appreciate mintCast, a great Linux users podcast. Thank you very much for the props on that. And I mean, that was pretty much my experience too, though I wasn't on Debian. I was on OMV to go from one to Ubuntu. But yeah, now we're both sitting on Ubuntu, sharing our files across the network, and that's the way to do it. I think it's the way to do it. It's good stuff. So thank you very much, and yeah, we'll head down to the next email. Looks like, Joe, you'll take that one.
Yep, this is from Brad Alexander, and he says, Since I've been working from home and since I have no intention of changing that happy state of affairs, I find that I spend a lot less time in the car commuting to and from work. And since I do, I consume my podcast more slowly. So what used to last me a week or so when I was commuting now takes me 2-ish weeks to go through. I'm there with you. So the way things are now, since I am listening on a Linux device with gPodder, the 0.5 episode comes first. So I was wondering if you could add a 0.0 to the News Wanderings episode title so that it falls alphabetically. Thanks, guys. And Leo, between you and Owen, can we do that?
I don't particularly care. I feel like because I'm exiting, I don't get a vote. So I will leave it to you 5 to decide how you want the file names. Basically, what he's talking about is when an episode releases, it's either, like say, take last episode, it was 369, and then I release it as 369.5 for the second half. My question, though, is why does gPodder not do it chronologically? It shouldn't matter what the file name is because it should be showing them to you as they are released and in that order. That's really weird. I've never seen another podcast app do it not chronologically. Even when you're looking at like the overview of like all the podcasts you have to listen to, they all come in via date. So, like I said, I'll leave it up to you. How do y'all's podcast catchers deal with it?
Mine is chronological, but my podcatcher is my phone too, so...
Right, well, right, of course. And I've not used gPodder, but I have used Gnome Podcasts, and that does it the same way, and that's on the desktop. So...
And sometimes the way alphabetizing works, I mean, if it ends at before the point, then that should be higher up in the list than something that has more characters. So,
right.
It's weird that's...
Yeah, I think it really kind of is. So I don't know. But again, I'll let y'all 5 decide what you want to do with it. And of course, I mean, I'll be here to support. That's the whole thing, right? I might be not a voice on the show, but I'll still be rummaging through things in the background, making things go smooth. So I'll stick around, and whatever y'all decide to implement, that's what I'll do. Oh, by the way, Joe, it's not a problem. It is quite literally typing 2 extra characters, so do not consider that as part of it'll be a lot of work. No, it won't.
Oh, no.
Y'all just have to decide how you want it to display.
All right, well, then we'll talk to Owen and see if we can get that added.
Well, no, it's just a mintCast website thing, so it would really just fall on me to change it. Oh,
okay. Hey, Leo, you should fix that.
Well, but I don't think it's broken. That's what I think I need y'all to decide on. Because I don't think
how about this?
In the majority of podcast catchers,
if anybody else is having the same problem, just email us, mintcast@mintcast.org, and we'll implement that change. It doesn't seem like it would be a big deal to do the change.
It won't be.
And if it's going to help out a lot of people, then let's do it.
Yeah, especially folks that are using gPodder. Is there a way in gPodder to sort chronologically as opposed to alphabetically? That, I mean, it may just be as simple as that. But coming from Brad, I suspect it's not that simple. All right. Next up, William T. He says, Leo, check out this low-profile Red Dragon Shrapnel K589. Quiet reds, silent, and linear. Still expecting OpenRGB to get supported. Okay. William, you were like 2 days too late. I purchased the Keychron K3 2 days before you sent this email. Check it out. Here's the reason why I think I would have still gone with the Keychron K3. One thing I mentioned,
Is this one sold out?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay, 2 things. Well, I can't do the K589 because, number 1, it's sold out, but number 2, it has a 10 key. And as I mentioned before, that makes me put my right hand way far out there, and it hurts my shoulder. I'm an old guy now, apparently.
I like the 10 key, and I think this keyboard looks awesome. I wouldn't go for the red switches, but
gross.
Yeah, that is a good looking keyboard.
So its cousin, the K621, is the same thing, same switches, same everything, but 10 keyless. So if I went with one, it would be the K621, which is just the 10 keyless version of what you recommended. But the other thing is OpenRGB support. I really despise having to install software to handle my lights on my things. In Windows, you can do it, but it's insane. I have to go install a Corsair this, and then a Logitech this, and then the Red Dragon one, and then I have to go get the Corsair one, and then I have to get the Crucial one, and then I have to also get the Razer one. And this has done the same thing to me with my video card purchasing as, it's the same thing as the video card purchasing. I buy AMD stuff because I don't want to deal with it. I want it to just work. The Keychron K3 is fully supported, changing all the lights, individual keys if you want to, all within the keyboard, all stored internally on the firmware, and I never have to worry about whether or not OpenRGB supports it. There is a quirk where I have to go in and change a module. It's like the Apple something or another module. I have to turn it off, and then the function keys work right. But, I mean, I would much rather have to fiddle with a text file than have to hope that OpenRGB supports my thing. Though, it's still a really nice-looking keyboard, though. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
You really need to go take a look at this because it's fantastic. Look. It's got everything else that I wanted, though. The low profile. It's got, it's missing the 10 key. I have a friend that absolutely will not buy a keyboard. I don't care if it's the best keyboard on the entire market. It could be on super sale. It could be basically free. He would say no unless it has this silly little scrolly thing for the volume. Straight up, that is the one killer feature for him. Otherwise, he will absolutely not buy it. But
Build your own.
well, if they come with the little scrolly thing, sure. But I mean, it's got Bluetooth. It's got a ton of different lighting modes. It's 10 keyless. This particular one is it's 7 millimeters smaller.
Now you're gonna have to let me know how well you're able to use the Bluetooth functionality with a Linux system over a long period of time.
Outside of battery, it works fine.
Well, there are some other issues, like when you stop using the keyboard for a while, and so it disconnects
the
from the
sleep mode
computer,
thing.
and then it tries to reconnect. I've had a lot of issues with that. I'd like to know if anybody else is having similar issues.
Okay, I'll try the sleep thing on the Keychron because I do know that it goes to sleep eventually, and you can change that using like key combos or whatever. So yeah, okay, I'll report back on that next show.
Thank you. Problem I just avoid by being left-handed.
Oh, well, that would fix my problem too. I got to unlearn 30-something years of using my right hand dominantly.
And I also like to have the 10 key because I use it for window tiling in XFCE.
Yeah, and so there's functionality there that I'm okay with losing. I would rather not, but I mean, my shoulder says no. All right, so next up, Henrik.
Yeah, I noticed Joe landed me with the longest one.
Oh yeah.
Whoops.
So Henrik said, walking in the Lake District has been on my wish list for a few decades. I think he's referring back to my holiday that I talked about on the last show. Eventually, one day, I've been a day trip along the wall, and I'm assuming he's talking about Hadrian's Wall. I've been on a trip to Newcastle area numerous times on business. Returning to the northern area for walking in the Lake District is something I look forward to. That's great. Yeah, you'll really love it when you eventually get there, Henrik. It's a great place. So he goes on to talk about Haiku OS. About 2 years ago, I read the book. In the beginning was the command line by Neil Stevenson. And it's a funny read from a funny essay from 1999 and can be found free to download on the internet. Not at least he talks about BEOS, and I quote, "The ideal OS for me would be one that had a well-designed GUI that was easy to set up and use, but that included terminal windows where I could revert to the command line interface and run GNU software when it made sense. A few years ago, B Incorporated invented exactly that OS. It is called BEOS. As Haiku is inspired by BEOS, I became curious about Haiku after reading the book. I flashed a USB with the Beta 2 ISO as well as at the time as well as the at the time nightly build. I tried several times on a Lenovo IdeaPad 100S-14 LBR and a ThinkPad T430S. The boot process never completed. I did some research, but not that deep. I tweeted with Moss recently. He's also given it some attempts with the same result as for me. Well, I can say I tried running it in a virtual machine and I got exactly the same problem. So,
May I say something?
Yeah, go on, Nissan.
It booted up for me on VM. HighCoreOS KVM.
Oh, right. I couldn't get it going.
Nice.
Did you use KVM or VMware? Or
I think I was trying Gnome boxes at
So
times.
KVM
that's
underneath,
yeah, KVM.
I suggest you to try the virtual machine manager, which connects to KVM directly.
Cool.
I think.
Anyway,
So
to go on, Heinrich says, Beta 3 was released earlier this summer and I gave it a try today. To my surprise, Haiku started on both machines above. Wi-Fi connection was no issue. I played a couple of minutes with the live USB tonight. Checked the depot, started to read the introduction guide. I am inspired to look more into it. Not that it's a ready OS like Mint, but it's cool. It exists and it's in active development. Yeah. I'm happy to hear if you give it a try. And of course, if Distro Hoppers test it as well, we'll have to talk to our resident, really serious Distro Hopper. So anyway, he then talks about Debian 11 Bullseye. I also enjoyed your innards about Debian 11 Bullseye and LMDE. I installed the Cinnamon version, and yes, it's Cinnamon 4. I still prefer Mint, but Debian is indeed the OS to trust upon. And who knows, I may use it more daily one day. Yeah, it's cool. I've run LMDE. Yeah, it's a nice distro. Anyone else got anything to say about that?
I think that's good. I appreciate
Debian 11.
What's
I
that?
really appreciate Debian for what they're doing. For 5 years stability and then releasing a new version.
Yeah, cool.
I'm
From
pretty
which-
interested in trying out HaikuOS, just to see.
Okay.
I mean, what's different about it? Why would you want to use that over something that certainly works?
With
but,
one thing is Windows 98 fields.
Oh yeah, I did see the screenshots,
Yeah.
and that's pretty spot on. Man.
Yeah, definitely Windows 98. Anyway, shall we move on?
Let's.
Yes, sir.
We'll head down to check this out.
Packages.org is the first one where you can get Debian from any distros repositories.
Hold on one sec. So what was that? So check this out. Let's take a look at the first link. Nishan, you were talking about packages?
Packages, pkgs.org. You will get every repository of every distribution. Not all the Linux distribution, but one of the mainstream Linux distributions.
That's
some
pretty
of the
cool.
mainstream.
Oh, they've got FreeBSD in here, so not just Linux distributions. You know what they don't have in here? Haiku.
Haiku, it will take some time, I think.
Yeah, maybe
to
so.
be, included.
You know what does have Haiku? The old Linux version website.
Ah, true. Does I wonder if Distro Watch lists? Oops, if I could spell it.
I think I do.
What's that?
I do.
Oh, they do. Ah, is it on the? Is it on the list? It says Haiku progress reports. They
Number
have it in the
60.
headlines for sure. Which one? Oh, it is 60.
Number 60.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, it's pretty far up there. It's above Red Hat. That's cool. That's really cool. So that will work. Haiku is there. I think that makes it an actual contender then, right? So now somebody has to actually try it. But with my newfound extra time, maybe I will. So the next thing on the list is SysZ. Now, I haven't gotten enough chance to actually test this out for real, but SysZ looks to be a terminal-based UI for managing systemd everything. All the units, all the targets, all the everything. If you need to turn them on or off or change their status or anything like that, you can do that with SysZ. So I'm really keen to just pop this on and install it. Doesn't look like you really need anything outside of FZF, Bash, and awk, which the last two you've already got on pretty much every system ever, since the Bash requirement is 4.3, and that was released in 2009. So I'm going to assume everybody I'm talking to right now likely has the right version of Bash. If you don't have awk, it's super easy to install, and you just download the binary, add the executable bit, and run it, and see how that goes. So I'll likely have a little bit of an update on the next episode of mintCast on how well this went. Not that I need it, but I do enjoy a little GUI, like the NMTUI, Network Manager TUI. When you have no GUI, it's nice to have a text-based UI to fall back on, so it's nice.
Is this available on Arc? Because that's where it would be useful, I believe.
It's available everywhere, Nishant. You just download the binary and run it, so it'll work on anything just about.
Because Arc is pure CLI on installation, in which you need to activate the wireless drivers using systemctl.
Right. Okay. So you wouldn't be able to do that. You would have to install wireless or turn on the wireless stuff, and then you could get SysZ. So you still have to be familiar with systemd in that sense. But after that, you can do it all TUI, which is kind of nice.
Okay.
All right. And old Linux versions, Tony, what?
We were talking about what kernel we first started on. So I went and had a look on the internet while we were talking last night and came up with this place. Old versions of Linux. I've put a link in the show notes, and it goes right back to 1994 with Warp 3.
Wow.
So it doesn't have every single ISO ever produced of every single distro, but there's a good selection out there from each of the years going back.
Yeah, and I mean you would find a distro that was released around the distro that you used if it's not on the list, and you can make an educated guess as to what kernel you might have run. And in my case, I suppose I was running on Slackware 8. At the time, which would have put me at about Linux kernel 2.2, likely. So yeah, 2.2.
So I quite like it. I'm gonna download a couple of ISOs and maybe boot them up in boxes and see if they'll work, and
I think
have
that's
a
the more interesting
nostalgia
point.
fix.
Yeah, that's the more interesting point, is that you can run all the stuff that you ran back in the day.
Yeah.
I already ran 3 of the classic ISOs from that.
Nice.
Yeah. The only thing you won't be able to do is download updates or any software, because all the links will be broken.
Yeah, those repos are gone.
No, Trusty Tar, it let me download updates to it.
Wow.
Link was not broken.
Tar was 14.04?
Yes, 14.04 LTS.
I think they're still in. Yeah, they're in extended service right now. So maybe yeah.
Oh, you might be able to get updates for that.
Yeah.
I doubt if you'll get updates for Linux Mint 3 though.
Right.
I ran Fedora 3. I don't think I'll get updates for that.
Yeah.
Fedora Core 3 and Red Hat Linux, the original Red Hat Linux 8 before Fedora.
It's cool. Go check it out.
So what about
Debian?
Sudo edit?
Debian,
What is
because
this?
So
Debian,
like
Debian, it's there from 2 till now, 10. Debian 2
the thing is,
all the way till 10.
Debian has those extra ISO images with extra software. For example, if you look at the DVD images, are like 4 to 5
big
gigabyte
long
images
list of
for
them,
each
yeah.
version.
Oh yeah.
So I wonder if they had those for a very old versions, because then you could actually install software without having to use the repos for Debian.
Yes. So the one which I told you, Red Hat Linux 8, it has 4 CDs. It had 4 CDs when I checked that website.
That's about right.
When I tried to install it, it asked me to put in CD2 on a VM, and I don't know how to do that.
Oh yeah, you should just be able to pop out the ISO and put in the new ISO. You have to download all the CDs though.
Well,
Okay.
Mandrake 9 has got CDs all the way up to CD 7.
That's a lot of software.
Do they put the entire repo onto CDs?
Yep. But it's basically a snapshot of the repo, and you can install all the stuff from the CDs, but you have to make sure that your repo list actually lists the CD. Otherwise, it'll tell you, hey, that repo doesn't exist. So, yep.
Yeah.
But those versions are also frozen in time. So, cool thing is you can install whatever OpenOffice version existed back then.
Okay, lastly, who put sudo edit in?
I just managed to sneak that one in last minute because
Alright.
I remembered watching a video from Brody Robertson about this command. It's basically an alias for sudo-e, which enables you to edit config files without giving the editor sudo privileges. So the way it works, instead of sudo editor name file, you would just write sudo edit and the file name, and it creates a copy of the file which you can edit without sudo privileges. So, for example, if you edit with Nano or Vim, the edit program itself doesn't get sudo privileges, which is a more secure way of editing config files. And when you save it, it replaces the temporary one. It replaces the old one with the new temporary one. So you do need to input your password, but you don't give the editor full sudo privileges, which is very cool, I think.
That's pretty smart, actually. Yep, definitely. So you can sidestep some bugs in the text editor by doing stuff like this, which is really cool. All right. Well, that means we've come to the end of the show. So next time, we've got a couple of things. Let me see. What? Sunday the 3rd of October? Is that right? Next episode of mintCast 3. I keep saying 2. 371 will hit your podcast live streams on Sunday the 3rd. Your podcast catchers on the 6th. So Sunday the 3rd of October.
Are you lot going to be doing anything with your clocks before then, or?
I have to check
I
that.
don't think that's coming up yet.
I just let my
I
phone...
just wanted to check when it might happen, because we don't do ours until the end of October.
Oh, yeah.
We do ours like 2 weeks before yours at
Right.
most.
Yeah,
Okay.
my phone tells me when I wake up and the time is wrong and I feel weird. That's
Yeah.
how I know.
For me, it's the 31st of October.
Okay, so we got a little bit of time.
Sunday morning.
Yeah,
All right.
that's when it'll be for us as well.
All right, so next episode will be recorded Sunday, the 3rd of October, and the next live stream will be Saturday, September the 25th at 2 p.m. U.S. Central Time. Everything's at 2 p.m. Everything is at 2 p.m. U.S. Central Time. But if you need, you can click on the links in the website to get that converted over to your time zone. Now that we're all over the world, that link is going to be really, really important. And don't forget, next episode, as far as I can tell, is going to be my last. 371 will be the last episode that I host. Yay! We'll cross that bridge when we get there. All right.
Oh, what's Tony going to do when I'm sick?
I don't know.
He's going to have to host.
Josh is going to host.
Oh, hell. Might not be a live stream that night, unless I
boy.
can work it out.
Well, besides all of that, we'll get it figured out. But until then, Joe, where can we get more of you?
You can catch me on a couple other podcasts. I'm on the Linux Link Tech Show, which you can find at tllts.org. I'm also on the Linux Lugcast, which you can find at linuxlugcast.com. You can send me a message on MeWe or send me an email, jb@mintcast.org. I've also added Ko-fi. So if you want to buy me a coffee, please, click on the link in the show notes and buy me a coffee.
Yay! Bo's not here this time around, but undercastnetwork.com for all of his shows, as well as Undercast Collective on YouTube. Tony, what about you?
Yeah, you can find me on Hacker Public Radio. I'm host ID 338. If you want to go and listen to some of my old shows on there, I'm on Twitter at TonyH1212. I'm th@mintcast.org and DistroHoppersDigest@gmail.com.
Very cool. And the other Josh Hawk, you can get him at joshontech at mintcast.org, at joshontech on Twitter, and pretty much everywhere else. And, of course, check out the mintcast spinoff Crowbar Kernel Panic for all of your gaming conversation. Norbert, what about you?
Well, if we'll have our mintcast email addresses set up by the time this episode comes out, then it's probably norbert at mintcast.org. Com. Is it com?
Org. No, you're right.
Cool.
So
it's
Norbert,
org, okay.
Yeah, Norbert at mintcast.org will be the email. If you're watching the live stream and you try to send him an email in the next 24 hours, it will probably bounce. But by the time the show airs technically, which will be on a Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, somewhere in there in the U.S., that email should be there. So if you're listening to this in your podcast catcher, go ahead and send him an email.
And I don't really have any social media where I post in English, but if by any chance there are some Hungarian-speaking people in the audience, van YouTube csatornám Walrus néven, W-vel, mint a rossz már csak magyar S-szel. And then you can... all of the videos are in Hungarian. I do plan to start an English version of my channel at some point. I mainly do educational videos about biology and stuff. So might happen sometime in the next year or so.
This right here is why we need the Babblefish. That way I can understand everything from every language all the time.
I could be sharing state secrets and you wouldn't know.
Wouldn't have any clue. Nope. And Josh, what about you?
At metal_foss on Twitter for now.
Awesome.
It's the best video name I ever heard.
Oh yeah, that one's good. Nishant, what about you? Oh, can't hear you.
Okay, so
There we
my
go.
email address is, my current temp email address is indianmintcasthost@gmail.com. It is recon.ghost on GitHub if you want to collaborate on a project, open source project. Maverick00783 on Steam if you want to play games.
Very cool.
Again, similar username, Recon Ghost on Instagram if you want to follow for travel pics, and that's about it. And it is Nishant Mishra on Facebook if you want to connect and collaborate.
And on top of that, don't forget, Nishant mentioned Discord. Norbert and Josh are also on Discord, so you can send all of your negative feedback directly to them on Discord if you'd like.
Appreciate that, Leo.
Of course.
Mostly in the...
All the negative feedback will be coming from me anyway. It's fine. I know where to find you. So as for me, leochavez.org and at leochavez on Twitter. If you're doing the Mastodon thing, I think I'm going to try and do a little cross-posting. So at leo at c.im on Mastodon. But of course, if you want to hear more of me after I leave the show after 371, you can find me over at linuxuserspace.show. But before we leave, we want to make sure to acknowledge some of the people who make mintCast possible. Owen Peary for our audio production, Josh Lowe for all of his work on the website, Hobstar for our logo, InitRD for the animated Discord logo, and Londoner for our time sync. Bytemark Hosting for hosting mintcast.org and our Mumble server, archive.org for hosting our audio files, and the Linux Mint development team, of course, for the fine distro we love to talk about every fortnight.
Thanks, Clem.
Thanks, Clem.
Clem.
Thanks, Glenn.
Clem.
And Co. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Done. Okay. So, anybody quitting?
No.
Yes.
Unless Audacity crashed on me, then I won't quit. And it didn't crash, so
Yes.
I'll be sticking around.
All right. Yeah. Pop over to your Audacity.
All right.
Press stop.
Ctrl-Shift-E.
Sure this time.
Yes. And save it. Save it. Save the
wait.
project.
Wave and files.
Export audio.
And save. Level 5-bit, 16-bit. Is that right?
I do the full quality. 8
Do
and 24. 8 and 24.
In
I do 516.
Okay, 516 is fine because it's way
If
quality
your
then.
internet's a problem with large files, just do 516.
Did you say it's Wave? Why would it be Wave?
FLAC.
I'm doing FLAC.
Okay.
Yeah, but since what is the best quality that people get? Is it the MP3?
Yes, that is as high as it goes. By the way, that is 96 kilobits per second. So it doesn't matter what you save your FLAC as, it's going to be
I
worse.
think 16 is fine.
Yeah. So I'm not worried about it. I don't think Owen cares. So yeah, as long as it's FLAC, you're good to go. There it goes.
It's basically lossless compression, isn't it? So that's the main thing.
So I think if you go above 5, it doesn't really improve the file size that much.
Oh,
Creating the new folder.
No, we already got one.
Folder there. There's one there.
Oh,
Don't
too late.
do it.
No.
It's already got a link.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
the
I
other
saw.
guys don't
I
have
saw.
the access to the other folder anyway, Joe. Take that. They
Yeah,
can't
I
even
saw.
upload
It
to
doesn't
it.
matter. I was just, giving Tony a hard time. That's what I do.
Like he does, yeah.
As you do. Yep.
Believe to not have had any technical issues during these 2 hours.
I know. I
My
tablet.
totally expected someone's Audacity to blow up today, but it didn't, and I forgot to start the backup recording. So I'm glad that didn't happen. Yay! It would have been a catastrophe.
Well, we have
SSD is a
YouTube
bit
as a
warm.
backup.
No.
Wow. What, Joe?
We have YouTube as a backup.
Yeah, and I thought about that at the same time that I remembered that I didn't invite the Craig bots in to do the recording. I really appreciate YouTube as the backup.
Is that the Latitude tablet?
Yep.
Guess I take the opportunity to show this one. Sorry,
Nishan, did
sorry
you need
about
help?
that.
That's the
Really?
Surface.
Yes, and Gnome actually rotates the screen very quickly. Even more quickly than I think I tried XFC, and even quicker than Windows. And the great gestures. It's not very visible, but yes.
Oh.
What application is that for gestures?
No, it's just built into the variant session of Gnome. The same as you would do
Joe's
on.
about to fall in love with Gnome over here. Oh,
Yeah,
no,
so-
look at this.
It's a very.
First time I've had GNOME on a tablet.
I think it's far ahead of anything in terms of touch support
That
for
was
Linux.
good, man.
It's three finger gestures, the same way you would do on a touchpad. Swipe left and right between workspaces, up to the expose, and up once more for the app list application drawer.
Wow, that's fantastic. Okay, I need to find out if GNOME will go on my old Nexus 7, that old piece of kit that may or may not support what we're talking about. But I'll try it anyway.
I saved it as a 8-bit FLAC FLAC.
Yeah.
16-bit?
8-bit. I wasn't sure about saving it.
Let me see. File,
So
export.
back to audio issues. I did have a couple of times when I had to put several takes for sentences. I'm not sure how much the end result will be edited, but there were also a few times when I accidentally spoke while other people were speaking.
So
yeah,
I'll let Owen know about those. I don't know for sure because Owen's going back face-to-face school. He does a lot of that, so I don't know if
I
he'll have
would
the time
really
to edit it.
appreciate if he could make me sound more professional.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as he can do something with it. It's very interesting because I could just yank the system SSD out of my computer this way.
Nice.
Everything would be gone.
So Nishant, there isn't an 8-bit, but there's level 8. Is that what you did?
No, I'm on 2.4. It just shows 8-bit, 16-bit.
Did you choose FLAC?
Yes, FLAC, free lossless audio coding.
Yeah.
Let me share.
I
my
think it
screen
was
with
the
you.
quality level was 8 and 16 was the other one.
And that makes sense. Here, Nishant, take a look at this. I shared my screen. So here's what
Which version are you running, Leo? Because there could be some changes.
Yeah, but they wouldn't go that way with it. Uh-oh, what did I do?
to compile with a.
Whoops.
For me, it just shows
dark
like
mode.
signed 8-bit, signed 16-bit PCM,
That's Wave.
signed 24-bit.
That's Wave.
No, that's FLAC.
No, it's not. Look, take a look. Let me reshare. I broke my thing. I don't know why I had that happen, but let me see.
Oh, okay. We'll take it
I'm
like
on
slowly because
233. But you should have more options, not less. So that's weird. Anyway,
if you go to export audio,
right? Export audio.
I can't see that screen.
Let me see. Sure enough, hang on. It is this one. Can you see that?
No, it's not coming up, Leo.
Right, here's what I'll do. I'll just do the whole dang screen.
That's what you're supposed to do out of the
No.
box.
All right, so in Audacity, file, export audio, and then FLAC down here.
No, for me only 3 or 4 options come, not everything.
What?
Yeah,
I
let me show
use-
you mine.
I use 3 on Windows, and it looks the exact same. So
Wait 1 minute. Let me show you. I'm not lying.
no, I don't think you're lying. I just don't know what you're looking at because I've never seen that, and I've used 242. I have that on Pop! OS. So
Oh, there it is. Oh, I'm so stupid. I didn't scroll down.
it happens. Don't worry about it. But yeah, FLAC and then 516 is fine. But I mean, you can just choose the biggest options if you want.
Okay. Because I got confused between the other uncompressed files and everything.
Yeah, I know. There's Audacity supports absolutely everything, so there's a gajillion choices that you have to make. But yeah, FLAC
Like
there.
other uncompressed files also had the FLAC option with the PCM signed 8-bit.
Yeah, but if you ever see PCM, you know it's Wave. It may be referencing other stuff, but it's Wave.
But it's saved it as a .flac.
Well,
file
Audacity
when
will
I
save
see-
it as whatever you tell it to save it as. So it's just a Wave, but with a .flac extension. And
Okay,
Linux
got
doesn't
it.
care because Linux reads the header and sees, oh, it's a Wave. I don't care what the extension is.
Oh, okay. Something new to keep in mind.
Yeah. All right, but that's
Okay.
it. You guys made it. You survived. And I will say before anybody decides to leave, I'm 100% sure that mintCast is in good hands. If
Yeah.
any show, if this is like the worst show you ever have, I think y'all are going to be fantastic.
Yeah. Can I just
As
say,
long as
guys?
Joe and Tony is still here.
I can see Josh's file in the folder. So just remember, Norbert and Nissant, you need to upload to the shared audio folder so that Owen can grab the
Or is
audio.
that I'm Professor?
Josh,
Here's,
are you a metalhead?
Yes, sir. I am a horrendous metalhead,
and
yes.
so is Norbert, it sounded like.
Good.
I mean, in.
Are you into Norwegian death metal?
Everybody's into Norwegian death metal. Are you
Oh,
kidding?
Well, yes,
course.
of course. Everyone should be into Norwegian death metal.
No, I'm more of a Linkin Park guy when it comes to rock.
Then
mean,
you're
That's how
wrong.
I'll go from
That's okay,
Black
though.
Sabbath all the way to the most modern extreme stuff. I love it all.
Does anyone know?
Okay.
It's not really metal, but progressive metal. Does anyone know Liquid Tension Experiment?
No, I
I've
don't know
recently
that one.
been getting into Polyphia.
I
little
I actually
progressive.
been to one of their shows here in Budapest.
They're so good, man.
I was also opening act of the night was Nick Johnston. He's a guitarist, and that was actually the first time when when hearing music actually got me to buy the CD.
Are you a
And-
Sabaton fan?
Not really.
Sabaton? Really?
Oh.
You don't know Sabaton?
Yeah, no, but
Yeah.
I don't know that I haven't heard the music, but I have a friend who's a very big Sabaton fan, and
Okay.
I do know that they come to Hungary a lot, and they have quite a big fan base here. And the fan, you know what Palinka is, right?
No.
It's a Hungarian spirit, basically. It's an alcoholic drink, and sometimes the crowd would start chanting Palinka, Palinka, and they wouldn't stop until I think the singer of the band Sabaton would take a shot of Palinka, and they even started selling merch in Hungary. When in the front, I think that was the band's logo, and the back it said Palinka. So they have quite a relationship with Hungarian people.
That's cool. All right. Well, I will shout out the live stream. Y'all, thank you for coming in and listening and doing all that whole thing. I appreciate the chat was pretty good today. So, yeah, thank you guys. And I'm going to go ahead and shut down the live stream. And we'll see you again in a week.